Hey guys, Chaos Shinobi here. This is a story where Naruto slaughters a mob of villagers attacking him. So then Hiruzen takes Naruto in to train him and to also be his successor as the god of Shinobi. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. Unleashing the Reason. The sound of heavy breathing could be heard through the dark streets of Konohagakure. The person had been running hard for a long time. He was just sleeping in his apartment dreaming of ramen when they kicked in his door. He shot out of bed and attempted to escape. One of those attackers saw him and launched a kunai at him. The small knife was still lodged into his shoulder. He stopped for a second but knew that he could not stay for long. What had he done to deserve such treatment from this village? He was born here just like everyone else, yet he was singled out. His own village cursed his existence and he did not know why. He had done nothing wrong. He was just a 5-year-old boy who had a dream of being Hokage. Why did they hate him so much? He heard the voices of his attackers and began to move when someone appeared in front of him. "There you are, you little demon," the man snarled. He kicked him in the chest, driving the air out of his little body. He hit the wall with such impact that he spat up blood. He struggled to stand, but his attention was to the mob that finally caught up to him. "Please," he begged. "I've done nothing wrong." "Nothing wrong," it said. "You've killed our loved ones," shouted one. "I've lost my son because of you," another shouted. "You should have been killed the day that you were born," someone roared. I don't know what you are talking about," he said. He suddenly screamed in pain as another kunai was lodged into his other shoulder. The mob started to grab glass and rocks. They threw the harmful objects at him. They didn't care that it hit him. They didn't care that he cried. He raised his arms to shield himself, but it was useless. Why aren't they stopping? Why isn't anyone coming to help me? Why do they hate me? Why? Destroy them. What? Destroy them, eliminate them, and tear the flesh from their bones. Who are you? Look at what they've done. They deserve to die. Unleash your rage. Unleash your anger. Unleash your fury. The young boy let loose an inhumane roar that stopped the mob. The roar could be heard throughout the village. The mob watched as a red chakra engulfed the small blonde. His cuts began to heal at amazing speeds. The red chakra took the form of a fox. "It's the Kyuubi, he's unleashing the Kyuubi," a female shouted. One of them ran at the boy, hoping to end his life, but he never reached. He fell to the ground, blood spraying from his throat. Everyone watched in horror as the boy's hand was covered in his blood. He glared at the rest of them. He charged at the mob, not giving them the time to run. 3 figures ran on the roofs of houses. Each had a mask on their face and a sword strapped to their back. They were responding to the blast of chakra they felt earlier. As they ran on the rooftops, one of them saw a blood spray on the ground. They landed on the ground and investigated it. They found more blood and saw that it led into an alleyway. When they entered it, a horror awaited them. They gasped at what they saw. Blood was everywhere, coating the whole alley. Bodies and limbs decorated the ground. They all looked like they were attacked by several beasts. In the middle of it all was a small boy. His whole body was covered in blood. One of the ninja reached for his sword when he recognized him but was stopped by the leader. He looked at the boy's eyes. They were in shock. He looked at his hand and had a very confused and scared look on his face. The leader, who had silver hair that stood up, approached the bloody child. He knelt to his level and looked him in the eye. The small boy flinched and attempted to get away. "Wait a minute. I'm not here to hurt you," he told him. "No, you'll attack me like they did," he shouted. "I promise you that I won't. Just relax, you can trust me. What happened here and why are you covered in blood?" That stopped the boy in his tracks. He looked back at the mutilated bodies. He then looked back at his hands. Did I do this? I don't remember. They threw things at me and after that." The boy began to freak out. He grabbed his head and screamed, "What is happening to me?" The silver-haired man shot forward quickly and placed his hand on the child's head. The little boy stopped, screamed, and suddenly felt over. The man watched as tears fell from the little boy's eyes. The man sighed sadly. "Minato-sensei, I'm so sorry. Look at what they have done to your son." Hiruzen Sarutobi was not a drinker. He enjoyed a good smoke and enjoyed his students' literature. He rarely drank as it was a very depressing thing to do. However, tonight it would be a different story. He had just returned from the hospital where he just finished visiting a boy. he thought of like a grandson, Naruto Uzumaki. The report that his ANBU had told him disturbed him greatly. He, like several others, felt the wave of chakra that was released and knew what type of chakra it was. He had sent for Jiraiya in case the seal was weakening, but he knew that it wasn't the boy's fault. To think that these people would attack a 5-year-old within his home. It made his blood boil and did not feel sorry for those who died. Still, the fact was that Naruto used the Kyuubi's chakra and the council was in an uproar about it. Several called for his death while a certain war hawk attempted to get him. He unleashed a large amount of his killer intent within that room that he put one council member in the hospital. He stormed out of the council room and grabbed some sake on his way to his office, telling his receptionist not to disturb him. He took a sip from his saucer when there was a knock at his door. "I said that I do not wish to be disturbed," Hiruzen said. "Sarutobi, we need to talk. Please, allow us entry." The old man sighed as he knew who was behind the door. "Enter." The door opened to reveal just who he thought it was. They were his old teammates, Koharu Yuditane and Hamura Mitokado. "Esteemed members of the council, what else can I do for you tonight?" he asked sarcastically. "Don't make us into enemies, Hiruzen. We have been teammates for too long for it to end," Hamura said. "Just teammates, huh? Glad to know that our time together didn't make us friends." "Sarutobi, stop this. I know that you care for the boy, but you cannot just sweep this under the rug," Koharu injected. "You want me to either kill the boy or create a weapon. Sorry if I am acting crabby about it," he snarled. "What would you have us do then? As soon as word gets out about this, his life will be in danger. Minato would not want his son to be killed by the very people he protected," Hamura said. "Do you think I don't know that?" Hiruzen snapped. He slammed the saucer on his desk. He looked out to the village. "I swore to his father as he laid there dying that I would protect him. I feel that I have failed him," he said sadly. "Not all of us see the boy as the demon. He is a shining hope, but this must be taken care of," Koharu said softly. Hiruzen sighed and looked out his window. He stood straight and turned to his former teammates. "I shall take responsibility for Naruto myself," he informed them. Koharu and Hamura shocked at that statement. "What do you mean by that statement?" asked Koharu. "I shall take Naruto in, I shall train him in the arts and along the way, help him control his demon," he said. "That is insane. You can't do that," Hamura shouted. "I refuse to kill the boy and I would burn this village to the ground before I allow Danzo to take him. I will not be questioned about this. As of today, Naruto Uzumaki is under my care. Anyone who has a problem with that will be dealt with personally by me," he shouted back. The two glared at each other for a while before Koharu spoke. "If this is your wish, Hiruzen," she said. "Koharu," Hamura exclaimed. "No, I have no reason to doubt your judgment. If you believe that this is best, then I will not stop you. The council will be informed of your decision," she said. Hiruzen said nothing, nor did he thank them. He walked past them and out his office. He had to inform Naruto of the change his life will take. Naruto awakened to the vision of white. He groaned as he tried to move. His body protested, but he ignored it. He forced himself into a sitting position and attempted to get his bearings. "You've awakened. That's a good sign." Naruto turned to the sound and smiled at who he saw. "Old man," he cheered. Hiruzen smiled at him. Suddenly he got quiet and looked at his grandfather figure. "I'm in the hospital again, aren't I?" "I'm afraid so, Naruto. What do you remember about last night?" he asked. The young boy went into deep thought. "I was sleeping, dreaming about ramen," he began. Hiruzen smiled at that, as he was not the only one who liked the boy. "That's when I heard me door get kicked in. I knew that it may have been some villagers along with some ninjas, so I tried to get away. One of them caught as I was jumping out and hit me with a kunai. I ran for a while, but they cornered me. They started to throw rocks and glass bottles. I was getting cut badly, and then there was a voice." "Voice? What voice?" "It was a scary voice. Told me to do bad things. It yelled at me, and that's when everything is a blank. When I came to, there was blood and guts everywhere. I thought it was those men with animals for faces, but then I saw that I was covered in blood. Did I kill those people, old man?" The aged man looked at the boy and sighed. He knew that he could no longer keep his dark secret from him. "I'm sorry to say, Naruto, that you did," he said. Then, I am a monster, Naruto said sadly. No, you are not. They are the monsters for trying to kill you, Hiruzen explained. Why do they hate me, Grandpa? Naruto cried. Do you trust me, Naruto? The small boy nodded at him. You remember the story about the Kyuubi? Yeah. The Yondaime kicked its ass and killed him. Well, that is only half true. The Yondaime did kick his ass, as you say, but he could not kill him. Naruto gave him a confused look. The Kyuubi is nothing but raw chakra and evil intent. It is a beast that has lived for years and only wreaks havoc when the world is plunged into evil. Despite the Yondaime's great skill, he was not able to kill the beast. He could only seal him in the body of a newborn. Naruto was amazed by that. That's when something clicked in his head. He wasn't stupid like people thought. It just took a while for him to process things. That newborn he placed the Kyuubi in. It's me, isn't it? Naruto asked. Hiruzen nodded slowly. But why was I chosen? This is why I asked you if you trust me. I cannot tell you that information. Naruto looked ready to shout at him, but he was stopped by the Sandaime. I cannot tell you because of the increased danger that you would be in. Seeing Naruto's confusion, he continued. The Yondaime, Minato Namikaze is his name, had many enemies. If word got out that he used you to seal the Kyuubi, they would think that you were weapon left by him to protect the village. They would do anything to have you killed. Naruto froze at that statement. It was bad enough that the village wanted him dead, but other villages trying to take his life was an eye-opener. I understand, I guess. Hiruzen chuckled at the sour tone, but he quickly gained Naruto's attention. Now listen, because last night it will be too dangerous for you in your home. I would have waited until you reached 7 before sending you to the academy, but we must start your training right now. For this day forward, you shall be my student, he said. Really? Naruto asked in joy. He started to jump up and down on the bed in celebration. All right, I'm one step closer to becoming Hokage. You still want to be Hokage? He asked. Well, yeah. I'm going to have to find a new reason for being the Hokage, but I'm still going to take that hat from you. Hiruzen looked at this boy in amazement. Even after everything he's been through, his will is still so strong. He smiled at his future student. Well, Naruto, let's get you out of here. Right. Naruto threw the covers off him and looked for his clothes. He couldn't help but wonder what the future held for him not. Chapter 2. The training begins. Hiruzen led Naruto to a small room within the Hokage mansion. The room was fairly big and offered the things that his old apartment with the exception of a bathroom and kitchen. Naruto just looked around his new home and took everything in. So, how do you like it? Hiruzen asked. It's really cool. Are you sure that I won't be a bother? Naruto asked. Not at all. Hiruzen looked to his left as an ANBU member appeared next to him. He whispered something which made him nod. The ANBU disappeared and Hiruzen turned his attention back to Naruto. Naruto, I have something to take care of. Get yourself situated and get some rest. If you need anything, ask my daughter. She is down the hall with my grandson. Okay, Naruto said. Hiruzen left and Naruto was alone again. He dropped his bags and fell on the bed. He decided that some sleep wasn't a bad idea. The Sandaime sat and faced the clan heads and council. He wasn't surprised to see them there as word would have gotten around about his taking in Naruto. So, you've summoned me here. What is it that you wish from me? Hiruzen asked. We would like you to explain your reasons for taking in young Uzumaki, Fugaku Uchiha demanded. Straight off the bat as always, the old Kage muttered. Enough, Sarutobi. The council will like to know your reasons for taking the boy, Hamura said. I would watch your tone, elder. I still lead this village. If you wish to challenge my authority, then stand and face me, Hiruzen threatened. Sandaime, please, we would like to know, Hayashi asked. As you wish, I am taking Naruto on as a student. I will train him in controlling his power, he explained. Are you mad? You would teach him how to use that beast chakra? Fugaku shouted. Even I have to agree you've gone out of line, Inoichi added. And exactly how have I done that? I've already told you all that I will not kill him. I've also said that I would never give him to Danzo. He is not a weapon but a boy who bears a burden that none of you cowards would ever handle. Several members shouted in rage at Hiruzen's words. How dare you? started Fugaku, but he was cut off when Hiruzen stood and hit them all with killing intent. Be silent or I will strike you down myself, he ordered. Everyone had never seen him so angry. They took him seriously and followed his order. I can only think about what Minato thinks of all of you right now. He gave his life for this village and all he wanted was the boy to be seen as the hero that he is. You have all spat on his grave with your treatment of his legacy. Some had their head down in shame. Yes, I understand that what I may be doing is totally insane, but what do you think will happen again if he doesn't learn to control the Kyuubi's chakra? Are you willing to place the villagers in danger? Are you saying that we are to blame? Asked a council member. It wasn't just a mob of villagers this time. There were ninjas that attacked him, Hiruzen stated. None of our clans would dare. Choza began, but Hiruzen threw a folder at him. He looked in it and gulped. Yes, among the dead was a Chunin from your clan, as well as a Genin from the Inuzuka clan. I guess I should punish both of you for not reigning in your members. Hiruzen threatened. Fine then, so what do you plan on teaching him? Asked Fugaku. Self-defense, tactics, and chakra control for a start. I will not allow the boy to be a target anymore. Anything else I teach him is none of your business, he said, causing Fugaku to growl. Many of the council still looked displeased with him, but he looked at them with swaying. Hayashi stood up and faced him. Well, the Hyuga clan will support you, but know that he is your responsibility. If this happens again, then we will go to the daimyo, he stated. I understand. If there is nothing else, I will take my leave. Hiruzen stood and walked out of the room, leaving several unhappy people. The next day Naruto was with Hiruzen in a private training ground. Hiruzen was dressed in a black ninja outfit with a brown karate top. Naruto was dressed similar to him, but his top was a dark orange. Okay Naruto, before we begin, I need to go over some things with you. From now on, you will refer to me as sensei. Also, I want you to give it your all. I will have no whining or complaining. The second you do, I will punish you. Am I clear? Hiruzen asked seriously. Hi sensei, I will do as you command, Naruto said with equal seriousness. Hiruzen smiled at him. Good. Now drop and give me 20. Hi! Naruto dropped to the ground and did 20 push-ups. After that, Hiruzen had him do several other exercises including sit-ups, jumping jacks, and squats. Naruto did each one without complaint and wasn't even sweating. Hiruzen was amazed at the boy's stamina. Are you warmed up yet? He asked. Yes, sensei, Naruto replied. Good. Stand by my side. Naruto did as he was told and stood by him. Get about 2 feet to my right. Naruto moved 2 feet away from him. Good. Now you will follow my every movement. Watch and observe as I do this kata. Naruto stood and watched as Hiruzen went through a taijutsu form. When it was over, he returned to where he started and commanded Naruto to follow. Naruto did just that. He made a lot of mistakes and butchered the kata, but Hiruzen was patient and worked with him. After an hour and a half of forms, Hiruzen started with his control. He told Naruto to stay still and make sure that the leaf stayed on his forehead. It was a challenge for Naruto, who was always active. He never did like sitting still. The leaf fell over several times, which frustrated Naruto greatly. Again, Hiruzen was patient with him. He even joined him in this exercise and explained it to him. This exercise continued for 2 hours. After that, they went back into forms. Naruto did the kata again. He still made mistakes, but not as many as before. Hiruzen did correct him for each mistake and explained that each strike should be done like he meant it. He even showed Naruto how he wanted him to punch to the maximum effect. It would be around noon when he called for a break. The two sat under a tree and rested. Hiruzen looked at Naruto and saw that he was finally winded. Still, he knew that he would be ready soon. Sometimes, getting old sucks, he thought. He turned to Naruto. Naruto, do you know why I'm training you? He asked. You want me to control the Kyuubi, right? Naruto said. Part of it is so that you can have control of the Kyuubi, but that isn't the only reason. I want you to be prepared for when I place you into the Ninja Academy in 3 years. Most of your training will consist of taijutsu, chakra control, and tactics. If you surprise me, I may teach you 1 or 2 jutsus. Really? Naruto exclaimed. Calm down, the techniques will not be that powerful, but they will be useful, but you have to earn them, Naruto. I will not give you anything else unless you earn it. Is that understood? Hiruzen asked. Yes, sensei. I will strive to do right by you." Hiruzen laughed and ruffled his hair. He now understood why Jiraiya liked training the hard workers. Geniuses were too easy to teach. It was a mistake he made when he took a team of his own. He had ignored Jiraiya in favor of Orochimaru because of the boy's natural talent. Tsunade took a field that he had no experience in, so left her to her own vices. He sighed and stood up. "Break time is over. Let us continue with today's training." It would be 2 months since Naruto moved in with the Sarutobi family. He had gotten to know the old man's daughter, Tashiko, and was glad that she did not view him like many others did. At first, he thought it was because of the old man was there, but she took him aside and the two talked. He was very happy to know that she saw him as the hero the Yondaime wanted him to be. He was also close to 1-year-old Konohamaru. The two hit it off as Konohamaru found Naruto's whisker mark interesting. He knew that the old man had a son, but he currently wasn't in the village. He had asked Tashiko about that, but she told him not to ask. Speaking of the old man, training with him had been a very hard and tiring. He was a strict enforcer who did as he said. He remembered when he had gotten out of line and he had him clean the Inuzuka's dog kennels by himself. Still, it was worth it as he felt himself starting to get it. The forms were beginning to get easier and his muscles began to remember how each punch, kick and block was done. The leaf exercise was starting to get there, but it was still very hard for him. Still, it did get him to focus more. Right now, he was at the Hokage Tower. The old man was doing paperwork while he sat still. Hiruzen had told him that this was an exercise in observation. He explained that a great ninja observes the situation instead of rushing into something that he knows nothing about. He added that many missions had ended in failure because there was a lack of information or lack of observation. Naruto found the exercise boring but did as he was told. Suddenly the door opened and a man was ushered in. He was definitely a noble and definitely a Hyuga by his eyes. He carried himself as a high figure in the world. Naruto just thought he was a snob. He looked on as he and the old man spoke. He continued to observe everything around him with clear boredom. He turned back to the noble and noticed that his hands didn't look as delicate as many noblemen he saw. They looked rigid and there was a small case of callus on his hand. Observing further, he saw that the man was always alert, too alert for a noble. When the discussion was over, the man bowed and left the office. Once out, Naruto turned to Hiruzen. "Hey sensei, was that guy a ninja?" he asked. "What makes you say that, Naruto?" "At first, I thought he was like all those other Hyugas that I've seen before, but his hands show signs of heavy training. There was also the fact that he seemed guarded and alert even with the 4 masked guys you have hidden," he explained. What makes say that I have 4 masked guys in this office?" Hiruzen asked. "There's one outside the window, the other is hidden in the corner near the window, and there are 2 guarding the door under what looks like a genjutsu." Hiruzen smiled at his student and was very impressed with him. "Very good, Naruto, that was very good observation. To answer your question, yes, that man was Hayashi Hyuga, head of the Hyuga clan. He is one of the village's strongest ninjas. In fact, most of the Hyuga nobles are ninjas." That surprised Naruto greatly. "Today, we are going to spar, and we will put this little exercise to the test." "Yes, sensei." Naruto and Hiruzen faced each other. Naruto looked at the man who had been training him for these past 2 months. He watched as he slipped into a fighting stance. Naruto took a similar stance and looked at his opponent carefully. "Okay, he's much older than me, so he can't be faster than me. That stance he has is set so that he could use his power. So if I move fast enough, then I can win this fight," he thought. "Are you ready, Naruto?" he asked. "Yes," he said and prepared himself to charge. "Attack!" Hiruzen ordered and Naruto took off. He was in striking distance as Hiruzen threw a punch at him. Naruto saw the punch a mile away and dodged to his left. He quickly threw a punch of his own that would have scored him a hit. Hiruzen caught the punch to Naruto's surprise and hit the blonde with a back fist. Naruto flew in the air by the blow but flipped himself back into his stance. Hiruzen was on top of him and struck him with a knee that forced the air from his lungs. He was forced to the ground by an elbow. Naruto struggled to stand while Hiruzen backed off. He waited until Naruto got his breath back and he sat up. "Now, what happened to you?" Hiruzen asked Naruto. "I underestimated you, sensei," he said. "And why did you underestimate me?" "I went with the fact that you were older and your stance was used for power, not speed. I thought that if I was fast enough that I could hit you." I figured that much. I'm Hokage for a reason, Naruto. I may be old, but I haven't lost my step. Also, I have fought in 3 wars, so my experience is limitless. What you must learn is that first observations are not always right. In a fight, your first observations can change in a flash, and if you're not ready for it, then you will die. Do you understand, Naruto? I think I do, Naruto answered. Good, now let us continue. Remember, do not count on your first observations. You have until dinner time to land a hit, Hiruzen said. Naruto nodded and slipped into his stance. Hiruzen followed his lead and commanded him to attack. Naruto charged and engaged him. Naruto never landed a hit on the old man, but he did gain a value lesson for which would save his life in the future. Chapter 3: The Reality of a Hokage. Hiruzen stood on the earth-made poles. He held a staff in a defensive stance and awaited Naruto's attack. He looked all around him as many clones of Naruto surrounded him, staffs ready for attack. Naruto ordered the attack and struck. Hiruzen defeated the first wave easily, but he realized that it was only used for cover. He blocked the stab that came from within the smoke and spun around to destroy another clone. Naruto didn't give up as he continued to use the smoke as a way to attack and lashed out at Hiruzen. The old man countered every attack with some ease, but he was almost struck from below. He grabbed the staff and pulled Naruto up. Once in his face, he kicked him into the tip of a staff, which dispelled him. He sensed more attacks coming from below and jumped in the air. Waiting for him were 2 Naruto ready to strike. They both brought their staffs down on the old man's staff. Hiruzen winced a little but gave it little thought as 2 more Naruto jumped at him, intending to catch him in the gut. Hiruzen spun his to break out of the stalemate he had. He smashed his staff into one Naruto that disappeared in a puff of smoke and kicked the other Naruto that also disappeared. As he came down, he raised his staff in the air. He landed and drove the butt of his staff into one of the earth poles. Several other staffs shot up from the ground and destroyed the poles and the clones. Once the dust settled, there were no more poles other than his. Naruto was struggling to free himself as one of the poles caught his shirt. Hiruzen took some deep breaths and sat down on the pole. He looked at his student and smiled. He almost had you that time, Sarutobi. Perhaps you are getting too old to be sparring with such a young child, spoke the staff. Perhaps you're right, my old friend, but I get some joy out of these spars. He is only 6 and he has progressed so far, Hiruzen said. Agreed. He is as hard-working as his father, said the staff. An eye appeared and looked at Hiruzen. I've been meaning to ask, are you going to have him tap into his tenant's chakra? I have not found a safe way to do so. I tried meditation and he has accessed his mental world, but it was only for a short time. He doesn't truly focus on it as he gets bored very easily. Do you think it's wise for him to even try? Wise, no, but it is necessary. While I am glad that Jiraiya's scan of the seal is positive, he will need to learn how to use that chakra at some point. Minato was a crafty man and didn't do things for no reason. Quite right. Naruto was able to free himself but fell on his butt. He held it in pain, making Hiruzen and the staff chuckle. Well, if there is nothing else, Sarutobi, I will take my leave. If you do plan on allowing him to sign the contract, please summon me so we can work out a deal. Of course, Enma, I shall call you, Hiruzen said and bowed. The staff suddenly turned into a man-size ape. The ape did a hand seal and disappeared. Hiruzen stood up and jumped off the pole to check on his student. Another year had passed, making Naruto 7 years of age. His skills in taijutsu, tactics and ninjutsu had grown greatly. He had taught the Kawarimi no Jutsu and Henge no Jutsu. As Jiraiya's scan had reported, Naruto's coils were massive and produced more chakra than anyone in the village. Sarutobi knew that this would be used to hold the boy back, so he taught him the Kage Bunshin technique. It was the perfect technique for him as he doubted Naruto would ever get tired from using it. He felt that it was time for the boy to join the academy. However, the council had a problem with that decision, or rather the Uchiha clan had a problem with that decision. They had called an emergency meeting to discuss it. Hiruzen sat beside the elders and had everyone seated. It has come to my attention that there is a problem with Naruto Uzumaki joining the academy, Hiruzen said. Yes, I feel that it is unfair that he joins the academy. He has had special training and will be more advanced than the other students, Fugaku stated. Care to explain that, Uchiha-san? I know from my sources that you have taught the boy the Kage Bunshin Jutsu, Fugaku explained. That sent warning bells in Hiruzen's head. Have you been spying on me and my family, Uchiha? That could be considered treason. Hiruzen spat. That is not what I said. My sources have told me about what you have taught the boy. It is a B-rank kenjutsu that should not have been taught to a 6-year-old. Fugaku argued. Is this true, Hiruzen? Asked Tamura. Yes, I did teach the boy the technique. However, it was a good reason that I did. Hiruzen stated. Sorry to say, Hokage-sama, I don't see a good reason for showing a 6-year-old a kenjutsu, Shibi said. I agree. What reason did you have to teach him such a jutsu? Inoichi asked. I assume that you have all read Jiraiya's report of the seal? He got several nods. If you continued to read, you would have seen that Naruto's chakra coils are the largest in the village. The reason behind it is because Minato's seal allows the Kyuubi's chakra to leak into Naruto chakra network, so his coils were adjusted to deal with the other chakra source. The regular Bunshin jutsu was beyond him even if he learned chakra control exercises. In our training, I showed him the Ki Nobori no Shugyo and he still couldn't control his chakra to do the Bunshin. Still, that is still a dangerous technique for a child. It was very irresponsible of you, Hokage-sama, Hayashi stated. Hiruzen knew that he was not really siding with Fugaku but making a point. He smiled at the council, which put them on edge. Then would you like a demonstration to place your worries to rest? He asked them. They mumbled and murmured before placing their attention back to Hiruzen. What do you mean? Asked Fugaku. Come by the stadium tomorrow and all your questions and worries will be put to rest. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. Naruto was happily on his way to Ichiraku's for a celebration. He was given a ton of money as a reward for his performance today. While he didn't know why the council was there, he figured out that it was another shaft job they were planning. The looks of the Uchiha clan leader and several other council members told him everything he needed to know. Now he was on the way to celebrate. He turned to see smoke coming from a different direction. Curious, he made his way to the site. When he got there, he saw a huge house ablaze. He turned to go get help when he heard the screams of 2 people. He was torn as he knew that he should go get some help, but it would be too late and the people would be dead. Decision finalized. Naruto rushed into the burning house. He covered his mouth and kept his head low so that he wouldn't get smoke in his lungs. He moved toward the sound of screams and moved quickly. Reaching a room, he kicked the door down and saw 2 people hugging each other. Naruto looked at them and saw that they didn't have much time. He created several clones and pulled something from out his pocket. Outside, several Konoha ninja attempted to get into the house. A young 9-year-old girl attempted to get into the house but was held back by her uncle. Suddenly there was an explosion that blew out the front of the house. Naruto and 2 of his clones came running out of the house before the flames could consume the house. Naruto and his clones laid the 2 people on the ground. The Konoha ninja quickly went to see about the 2 that Naruto brought out. The clones were dispelled and Naruto took a few more steps before he fell to the ground. Naruto woke up to a white ceiling. He groaned and covered his eyes from the bright light that was on him. I got to stop ending up in here, he groaned. I completely agree. Naruto turned to see the Hokage. There was also a man next to him. I remember you were at the house, Naruto said. Yes, my name is Unkai Kurama and on behalf of the Kurama clan, I thank you for your brave efforts. You saved my brothers and my sister-in-law's lives, Unkai said and bowed to Naruto. The blonde grinned at the praise. Did you guys manage to stop that fire? Naruto asked. Both men looked at each other with nervous glances. What? Nothing for now, get better and we will talk about it. I promise that I will keep you in the loop, Hiruzen said. He and Unkai left a confused Naruto to recover. Naruto, please come in here, Hiruzen called out. Naruto entered his private room where Hiruzen did his calligraphy. He was wearing his training gi he used when training him. Naruto sat before him and waited for him to continue. Hiruzen sighed and faced him. First off, I would like to say that I am very proud of you. You did act without thinking, but your actions saved the life of 2 people. However, there are certain things that you must know about that fire. The first thing being that it was not real, it was a genjutsu. Naruto was shocked by. Are you sure, sensei? Those flames felt very real. I have the burns to prove it, Naruto said. Do you remember that man from before? Naruto nodded at the question. That man is part of a small clan called the Kurama clan. They are a clan of some of the most talented genjutsu users. They are very talented in that area. However, once in every generation, there is a Kurama with skill so great that they can cause physical damage to their opponent. Naruto looked very stunned and amazed. Hiruzen continued his speech. At this moment, there is a Kurama with such a talent. What is going to happen to that Kurama? Naruto asked. At first, I had a tutor attempt to help the person control their ability, but the tutor proved to be unable to do it. I had that tutor seal her power when I thought she would be a threat, but their power broke the seal and unleashed its fury. Hiruzen explained. You talk as if this power has a mind of its own? From what Unkai told me, the power takes the form of another persona. If the Kurama can't control this persona, then the persona will take over. Hiruzen added. So why tell me sensei? The girl, her name is Yakumo, has been loudly telling the clan that I was responsible for the fire. The clan knows that is not true, but she is strongly convinced that I and her tutor, Kurenai Yuhi, plotted the whole thing. She probably overheard what Kurenai and I had discussed and mistook it. Now I am faced with a dilemma. Unkai and the clan want me to put her to death. Her parents are not willingly to do so and are willing to go so far as to leave with her out of Hai no Kuni. I can't do that because of what our enemies will do. I ask you, my student, because you wish to be Hokage, and a Hokage must make a choice of such difficulty. Think of it as a test. Hiruzen said. Naruto looked at him and saw that he was very serious. Well, I won't kill her. It's not her fault that she was given such a gift. That's just an evolutionary process. I do believe that a stronger seal is needed, but this seal should only be used with her consent. I know how it feels to not know why things happen. I would sit with her and her family, explain what was misunderstood, and offer my plan to them. A good plan, but what is to stop her second persona from overcoming the next seal? Hiruzen asked. Then I would suggest a better seal master, one who has years of experience. Naruto countered. Do you truly believe that experience really matters? Yes, because an experienced seal master can learn the mistakes of the first seal and improve it. Why not just use the stronger seal and put her in confinement? Her parents won't allow it. If you try to have them silenced, she would be even more resentful of you, Yuhi-san and all of Konoha. Hiruzen looked at his student carefully. Naruto did not waver under his gaze. He smiled at Naruto. Your answer was satisfactory, but you could have been a little more convincing. Hiruzen stood up, followed by Naruto. Hiruzen led the blonde back to his room. 2 weeks later found Naruto standing in front the academy gates. He was wearing a pair of black pants, a dark orange and blue kimono top with a mesh shirt underneath, black sandals and arm guards. He had a small ponytail in the back of his head as he allowed his hair to grow out some. He was a bit nervous about being here as he knew some of the instructors would be out for him. A hand fell on his head and he looked up to see the Sandaime. The wise old man gave him a smile and pushed him forward. Naruto groaned and got into line with the other. After a while, one of the instructors stood in front of the group. He wore the standard outfit of a chunin. His hair was tied and had a scar running across his nose. Greetings, my name is Irika Umino and I will be your teacher. I would like you welcome to the academy, he said. Naruto wondered what the next 4 years were going to be like. Chapter 4, Academy Day Part 1. Naruto sat toward the back and waited for the games to begin. As he entered the building, he saw the teachers giving him the look. He ignored it as best as he can, but he was still worried about what they had planned. He began to wonder who was going to be his instructor for the next 5 years. The door opened and in came the instructor from early. Irika was his name, he remembered. Okay class, let's settle down, he said. The class was still a little rowdy. Class! They still ignored. Irika took a deep breath. Sit down and shut the hell up, he roared. The class quickly shut up and began to wonder how he did that with his head. Irika returned to normal after getting their attention. Listen for your name. Irika read out each name that was on his list. When he reached Naruto's name, he paused for a short while. Irika knew who he was and was very impartial toward him. His parents died while fighting the Kyuubi and hated the demon for it. He knew that Naruto wasn't the Kyuubi, but he couldn't help but be angry. Still, he was an instructor and he would not follow the crowd when it came to him. He would still be impartial and just wait and see. Okay, we'll begin with a little history, Irika said, causing some to groan. First question. What 2 clans founded Konohagakure no Sato? He looked around and his eyes landed on Naruto. Uzumaki, answer the question. Naruto stood and faced him. Kanahagakure no Sato was found by the Senju clan, led by Hashirama Senju, and the Uchiha clan, led by Madara Uchiha. Naruto answered. Very good, Uzumaki, you may be seated, Iruka said. Naruto sat down and Iruka continued with the lesson. Naruto stood along with everyone else outside. They were lined up in 5, each line facing a wooden target. Each target had 5 spots with bull's eyes. Naruto watched as everyone threw their shurikens. Some of them were just awful while others were decent. This one girl was amazing as she hit every target dead on. She would be real scary when she graduated. It was now his turn and he stood at the line. The guy who was watching his line glared at him, but he quickly changed his look and handed him some shuriken. Naruto didn't miss the glare and noticed that these were different shuriken. He sighed and looked at the target. In seconds, 8 shuriken hit each bull's eye. While it wasn't dead on, it was close enough. The instructor was surprised that those shuriken made it to the dummy. He frowned, but Naruto had already moved to the end of the line. Naruto ducked and weaved as the instructor lashed out at him. He heard Iruka tell the guy to take it easy, but he ignored him and continued his assault. He noticed that he was beginning to get winded, so he stopped dodging. The instructor hit the ground when Naruto's fist connected with his gut. The instructor was taking deep breaths while Iruka walked up to him. Uzumaki, this was a spar. There was no need to hit him that hard, Iruka shouted. Sorry, sensei. I didn't control my strength. Naruto apologized. I won't take points off this time, but in the future, you will control your strength when sparring, Iruka commanded. Hi, sensei. Naruto walked out of the circle while Iruka checked on his fellow instructor. Naruto walked out of the academy, taking in the glares from the parents that came for their kids. He wasn't expecting anyone since he knew that the Hokage would be busy. He sighed as he walked back to the Sarutobi compound. Naruto, someone called out. Naruto looked around until he laid eyes on Tashiko. She had Konohamaru with her and was joined by a bearded man. Tashiko Nizan, what are you doing here? Naruto asked in surprise. Now, what is with that attitude? I came to pick you up from your first day of class, Tashiko said with a smile. Naruto was shocked, but it quickly changed into smile. He turned to see the bearded man and looked at him. The man looked back at him but didn't introduce himself. He placed a cigarette in his mouth, but it was quickly taken away by Tashiko. I told you not to do that around me or Konohamaru. Now stop being rude and introduce yourself. The man grumbled but did as he was told. The name's Asuma, he greeted. Naruto looked at him in surprise. I thought you were still at the capital. Is it wise for one of the Shugenin Junichi to be away from the daimyo? Naruto asked. That's a surprise. How did you know that I was part of the group? Well, the sash is a dead giveaway, Naruto stated, simply making Tashiko giggle. But to answer your question better, the old man told me that you joined the group. He says that with sadness though. I've never been able to learn why, Naruto explained. I see he's been teaching you about observing. Let's get going, Asuma said and began to walk away. Tashiko sighed and motioned for the confused Naruto to follow. Asuma stood on the balcony of the Sarutobi compound. He looked into the night sky and watched the full moon glow. He took a puff of his cigarette and blew out the smoke. I see that you have found my smoking spot. Asuma didn't turn to face his father and continued to watch the moon. Hiruzen did not take insult to his son's behavior. They have always been at odds with one another. After a few minutes, Asuma spoke. I was surprised that you took a student. Don't you think that you're a bit old to be chasing around a 7-year-old? He asked. Perhaps, but I have a sense of joy when teaching him, Hiruzen answered. Making up for your earlier mistake years ago? Yes, but not from that time. I made a vow to Minato that I would protect him. I failed 2 years ago. I will not fail again. Why am I back here, old man? The daimyo released me for duty because you requested it, Asuma asked, finally turning to look at Hiruzen. I heard about the coup, Hiruzen said. I could have handled it. I really don't care what the people say. I'm no traitor, he explained. I know that you're no traitor, but the people at the capital do. Your presence causes worry among the populace. Chiriku has already left and is doing well at the fire temple. I don't wish to be here, father, Asuma stated. I know you don't, but I need you here, son, Hiruzen said and walked away from him. Asuma turned back toward the moon and sighed as his life just got complicated. 3 weeks in and Naruto was getting into the whole academy thing. The instructors still gave him a hard time and the kids either stayed away from him or attempted to bully him. The only upside was that Irika treated him fairly and was honestly impressed with him. He didn't pick on him like the rest and talked to him personally. The two even shared a bowl of ramen together. His did make one friend. His name was Rock Lee. The other kids picked on him because he couldn't do anything other than taijutsu. Naruto talked to him and told him that those idiots didn't know anything. The two would spar and would improve their stances and attacks. He didn't know how he stacked up in class, but he had a feeling that he was at least in the middle of the pack. Irika entered and called for order. After the last 3 times of being yelled at, the class did as he ordered. Today, we will be adding another student to our class. He looked at the door and a girl stepped in. She had on a purple and lavender top with only one sleeve and a matching skirt. She had long brown hair and light brown eyes. Introduce yourself to the class, Irika said. My name is Yakumo Kurama. I'm 9 years old and a member of the Kurama clan. I like to garden and to paint. My goal in life is to control my clan's Kekkei Genkai, become head of my clan, and to be the greatest of genjutsu users. Yakumo introduced. Naruto was surprised by who this girl was. It had been a while since he heard the name Kurama. Truth was they kept to themselves a lot lately. What Naruto didn't know is that there were a couple of incidents that were stopped by the Kurama clan as a way of thanking him for saving the leader and his wife. Irika told her to take a seat and she walked toward it. Yakumo gave Naruto a glance before moving on to her seat. He didn't understand what the look was for, but he ignored it and began to pay attention to Irika. Lunchtime came around and Naruto was again alone with his ramen. He thanked the gods for Tashiko, who would ignore the old man's strict eating menu. Suddenly, a shadow felt over him. He sighed and looked up but was surprised to see Yakumo. Your name is Naruto Uzumaki, right? She asked. Yeah, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Is there something I can help you with, Kurama-san? Naruto asked. He watched as she bowed to him. Thank you very much for my second chance, she said. Naruto looked on confused. Perhaps I should explain. It's like this. Flashback. Hiruzen stood with Kurenai at his left. He faced Yakumo, Murakumo, Yuroko, and Unkai Kurama. Yakumo glared at both the Sandaime and Kurenai. Despite her mother and father explaining everything to her, she was still upset at the both of them. Kurenai had no faith in her while Hiruzen ordered her to do something without her consent. Now that everything has been explained, I would like to ask you a question, Yakumo. Do you still wish to be a ninja? Hiruzen asked. Yakumo looked at the Sandaime with caution. He smiled as he continued. While your daughter is physically weak, she can grow stronger with proper training. However, her lament powers are a problem. What I suggest, with your permission, seal of Yakumo's Kekkei Genkai. I will send for my student to do the sealing as the one placed on your earlier did not work. So you will send for Jiraiya-sama? Asked Yuroko. Yes. When the sealing is done, I would like for Yakumo to go to the academy to learn. I assure you that we have some of the best instructors that will help young Yakumo. You mean to keep an eye on me? Yakumo said. Her father looked at her but Hiruzen but the Hokage held his hand out. If you would like to put it that way, then yes. You must understand, Yakumo, that your ability is very dangerous. If it wasn't for my student, I would have you placed away with constant ANBU patrol, he said, making Yakumo gulp. Now, I've decided that the Kurama clan is very important to Konoha, and to have you angry at Konoha will not do. So, if you still wish to be, you will be enrolled into the academy. As for your genjutsu, Kurenai. No, I don't want her as my teacher, Yakumo stated. Kurenai didn't say anything, but she did have a frown on her face. I'll teach her, Unkai said. Brother, Murakumo whispered. While I totally disagree with this choice, I do care for Yakumo. I will be her teacher and show the way of the Kurama clan, he explained. Good. I will send for Jiraiya at once, Hiruzen said with a smile. Present. I don't know what you said to the Hokage, but I thank you and you forever have a friend with the Kurama clan, Yakumo said and bowed. Naruto grinned but had a sweat drop on the back of his head. Inside his office, Hiruzen watched from his crystal ball. He found it just too funny on how nervous Naruto was. The boy had just made his first step into politics and he didn't even know it. Jacken was many things. He was older than the other students, he was bigger and stronger than the other students, and he was a bully to many of the students. It was just something he liked doing from time to time. However, he was smart on who to mess with and he made sure that he wasn't caught. He decided to pick on his next target, Naruto Uzumaki. He didn't really care why the instructors glared at him or why his drunk ass of a father told him to mess with him at every turn, but as long as he wasn't getting in trouble, who was he not to go for it? The thing was that Naruto didn't do anything when he messed with him. He either just ignored him or didn't bother with him. It pissed him off so much that he almost belted him, and he would have if Iruka hadn't been there. Suddenly, that new student had come in a week ago. He finally had something, seeing that they were very close friends. Naruto was eating his lunch with Yakumo when a shadow fell over the both of them. He sighed and turned to face Jacken. "Well, if it isn't the pipsqueak. And I see that you've finally gotten a friend," Jacken mocked. "Hello again, Jacken. What do you want this time?" Naruto said. "You know this guy, Naruto-san?" Yakumo asked. "Naruto-san? Why is she giving you so much respect, demon?" Jacken asked. "Excuse me, but what the hell are you doing disturbing us? Perhaps you should leave us and go roll in the mud," Yakumo shouted. "What did you say to me?" "I'm sorry, I didn't know that you were stupid as well as slow." Jacken boiled with rage and cocked his fist back. He threw it, intending to smash the girl's face in when he was suddenly in the air. He landed hard on the ground but was in pain as Naruto held his arm in a place while twisting his wrist. "Listen, Jacken, you may be a bully to me, but the minute you attack one of my friends is when all bets are off. Do it again and I promise you I'll do to you a lot worse," Naruto said coldly. "Why, you little shit?" Jacken snarled. "That'll be enough, both of you," Iruka exclaimed. Naruto released him and Jacken stood up. He glared dangerously at the two standing in front of him. "I see that you haven't been listening, Jacken." "What? But I didn't do anything," he shouted. "I watched the whole thing. I think that I and your father need to have a talk after class," Iruka informed. Jacken flinched, but he glared even harder at Naruto. "This isn't over, Uzumaki. Count on it," Jacken growled. Jacken was dragged away by Iruka. Naruto just sighed as his days at the academy just got harder. Chapter 5. Academy Days Part 2. Hiruzen waited until Naruto came back from the academy. He needed to do another exercise with his pupil. He was very proud of him, but he felt that he was still a bit too rash. Yesterday's spar showed that he still did not think before acting. He wasn't only training him to be able to defend himself, but he was teaching him how to be a complete ninja. Hiruzen heard the footsteps rushing to the balcony. Naruto blasted out in his training clothes and was waiting for the training exercise. Naruto was surprised to see the old man still in his Hokage robes. "Sensei, aren't we going to start training now?" Naruto asked. "Yes, we are. Sit down, Naruto," Hiruzen ordered. Naruto sat down in front of him and waited. "I am very proud at your progress as of late. You are getting better at controlling your chakra, taijutsu, bojutsu, and observing." "Thank you, Sensei. However, I am very disappointed when it comes to your tactics. I do admit that you have an uncanny ability to think of a plan on the fly and it is useful. Still, you must learn to plan your tactics much better, so I have a new exercise. In front of you is a shogi board. Many warriors and generals use this as a way of planning," Hiruzen said. "So, this is a game?" Naruto asked. "Yes, but it will teach you patience and increase your tactics. I'll show you how the game is played and how each piece is used. Then we will play a game and your goal is to win. Is that understood?" "Hi, Sensei." Hiruzen just smiled as he showed his pupil the game of shogi. Hiruzen kept himself from laughing at his pupil. He watched as Naruto was sweating and racking his brain as he looked at the board. Hiruzen wasn't very surprised that he had not been forced to use the Yagura Gakoi to beat him. Naruto made his move, but it was very hesitant to make it. Once it was made, Hiruzen dropped in on Naruto's territory. The young blonde whined and rubbed his head. "I think that's enough for today," Hiruzen said in amusement. "No way, I'm not done yet. One more game," Naruto exclaimed. Now, know when to quit, Naruto. I've been playing this game for quite a long time and I'm very good at it. You can't expect to win every time," Hiruzen said calmly. "Yes, Sensei," Naruto muttered. Hiruzen chuckled and ruffled Naruto's hair. "I want you to remember and analyze your performance today. We will be playing this once every week to test your improvement." Naruto nodded as Hiruzen led him into the compound. Yakumo and Lee were concerned for their friend. He was muttering to himself and scribbling down stuff. Yakumo recognized the doodles as a shogi board. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I have to figure out what I did wrong," Naruto answered. Lee and Yakumo were confused, so Naruto explained some more. "The old man is testing me with a game called shogi. Something about tactics and patience. It sounds boring to me. I would think that the student of Hokage was a bit more intelligent than this," a voice said. All three turned to see a boy who was followed by several girls. Naruto noticed that Yakumo was glaring at him for some reason. "And you would be?" Naruto asked. "His name is Hyuga Neji. He is also known as the Hyuga Prodigy and in line to be this year's Rookie of the Year," Yakumo said coldly. "Boyfriend of yours?" Naruto joked. The glare she sent his way made Naruto duck behind Lee. She turned back to Neji. "What do you want, Hyuga?" Yakumo asked hotly. "I came to see why the Hokage would waste his time with such a person," he said. He turned to look at Naruto. "I see nothing special about him. His destiny is wrapped in failure." Yakumo glared, and even Lee looked offended. Naruto looked at Neji with a calculating gaze. "I didn't know that the Hyuga clan had such an ability. So you can see into the future, Neji, was it?" Naruto asked. That question surprised Neji, as he expected him to get as red as his two companions. Still, he kept his cool expression. "These eyes can see deep within your soul. It is why the Hyuga is the more powerful clan in Konoha," Neji stated. "I think the Uchiha would dispute that, but who am I to judge?" "Sorry for interrupting. You were saying that your Kekkai Genkai can see the future of what would happen to me," Naruto said. "Everyone is born with an unchangeable destiny. It is something that they can't change, that they can't fight. We must all submit to that destiny and accept it. You may train with the Sandaime, but it will not change the fact that you would be nothing more than average," Neji explained. "Are you saying this because you are part of the branch house of the Hyuga?" Naruto asked. Neji kept his stoic look. "The head wrap is a giveaway. I've met some branch house members and they seem to hide that fact. Besides, I think that you're a bit off." "Oh, what makes you say that?" Neji asked curiously. "You say that we are born with an unchangeable destiny, but I do not believe that. If that were true, I would have been dead. My friend Lee would have quit a long time ago because of his condition, and Yakumo would have been locked up somewhere. Yet we are here and making our dreams come true. I will become Hokage. Lee will be a ninja of great skill without Gen and ninjutsu, and Yakumo will be the greatest genjutsu user in the world. Destiny is what we make it. It isn't set in stone," Naruto explained. "You speak of being Hokage, but the Hokages were all great ninja, and you would be nothing but average," Neji said. "Maybe, but every Hokage was average at the beginning before they became great. You are a prodigy, so perhaps you can become Hokage," Naruto asked. "That is not part of my destiny. I am a caged bird, trapped within the clan. My destiny is to serve the Hyuga, nothing more," Neji said. "Well, as your eyes said, I'll be nothing but an average ninja. If that's the case, I'll strive to be better and become greater than the previous Hokages. I believe that's my destiny." Neji looked at Naruto, who didn't flinch from his gaze. It had interested him some. "It seems that we have a difference in opinion. I was expecting a very different outburst from you," Neji admitted. "Well, training with the old man has its perks," Naruto said with a large grin. Neji smirked and walked away from the three. Yakumo looked at Naruto in amazement. "I can't believe it. You actually matched Neji in a fight of words. I've never seen him ever back down when he starts spouting that crap about fate and destiny," Yakumo exclaimed. Naruto just scratched his head as Lee praised him. The next 2 weeks left the young Uzumaki was racking his brain. He was getting a bit better at playing shogi against Hiruzen, but he still could win. It was as if that board was mocking him. The old man just kept telling him that this was a lesson in patience, but the game was so boring and too hard. What the hell did patience have to do with being a ninja or Hokage anyway? He took a couple of deep breaths before continuing his research of his matches. His research was cut short as he heard the sound of something flying through the air. He rolled out of the way as 3 shurikens hit the tree he was leaning against. He turned and saw Jacken. He hadn't seen Jacken for a long while and was very confused about what the hell he was doing here. He looked back at the tree and saw that those shurikens were real. "What the hell, man? Those could have killed me," Naruto shouted. "What do you think I'm doing, Pipsqueak? I'm sick and tired of your face. Not like I'll get in trouble anyway. Everyone in the village seems to hate you. I'll be doing them a favor. Jacken snarled. Naruto wasn't too surprised about him knowing how the village treated him, but he was suspicious of his reasons to kill him. There was no way he knew about the Kyuubi. No one in the village would have risked sure death. Jacken threw some more shuriken at Naruto. Naruto jumped out of the way and into the forest area. Where are you going, Pipsqueak? Jacken shouted and followed Naruto into the forest. Naruto looked back to see Jacken tossing shuriken at him, but he stayed very far in front and near the trunk of the tree. Naruto saw that Jacken was stacked prime with shuriken pouches, so trying to outlast him was out of the question. Suddenly he remembered something about this forest. Naruto pushed off the tree and rocketed to his left. Jacken followed him and continued his attack. Naruto made a quick turn and made his way back very quickly. Jacken was on him and threw some more shuriken. Naruto kept moving and dodging until he saw what he was looking for. Naruto quickly jumped toward the ground with Jacken following. The insane kid threw 5 shuriken that hit Naruto in the back. Jacken smiled, but Naruto suddenly disappeared in a puff of smoke. What the? Jacken said in confusion. Jacken! Naruto shouted. Jacken turned and was hit in the face with Naruto's staff. Jacken hit the ground hard and skid toward the fence that Naruto was heading for. Naruto landed and watched as Jacken rolled around in pain. The blow was not that hard, so Naruto was confused by his pain. Also, why was Jacken holding his sides? He watched as Jacken struggled to stand. Okay, Jacken, you're going to answer some questions. Why the hell are you trying to kill me? I've done nothing to warrant such actions. Naruto said. It's your fault. I wouldn't be hurting as much if it wasn't for you. Jacken gasped. What are you talking about? I haven't seen you in 2.5 weeks and all I did was twist your wrist. You would have been fine the next day. Naruto said. He watched as Jacken reached for his weapons. This isn't a plot that you came up with, is it? Who are you working for? I'm not going to tell you shit. I'm going to finish you off, Uzumaki. Jacken shouted. I'm sorry to say that won't be a possibility. A voice said. Jacken and Naruto were suddenly surrounded by people with masks on their faces. Lay down your weapons and put your hand up. A large man with a bear mask said. Naruto complied immediately and dropped his staff. Jacken saw this as an opportunity and reached for a few shuriken. The masked people were much faster and easily took Jacken down. He screamed in pain as they dropped him to the ground. The leader noticed that he was coughing up some blood. What are you doing? Why are you being so rough with him? We took him down easily. We didn't slam him down or anything. The ninja said, who was very worried. Sir, I think he was already injured. When he attacked me and I defended myself, I hit him toward the ground. He was reeling in pain and holding his sides. Naruto informed. Shut the hell up, Uzumaki, Jacken shouted. The man in the bear mask looked on and decided to investigate. Take him to the medics, knock him out if he resists. Uzumaki, you will explain this now. If I recall, you aren't allowed within 100 feet of an ANBU facility, he said. Naruto just chuckled sheepishly. Hiruzen, flanked by Hamura and Koharu, sat and waited for the two to give their reports. One was the ANBU captain who found the 2 boys and the other was the head medic at the hospital. He turned to the ANBU captain first. What do you have to report? Hiruzen asked. Young Uzumaki was telling the truth. He was attacked by this Jacken kid. We found where the battle began and Uzumaki must have known that one of our facilities was in the area. Naruto probably lured him toward that spot, probably aware that we have sensors around the place from his last prank. The ANBU captain reported. Hiruzen nodded and turned toward the medic. Naruto was correct about Jacken's injuries. They were not caused by Naruto's staff, that much I know for sure. The only injury that Naruto made was a small bruise on the side of his face. Jacken has multiple bruises on his chest, stomach, and back. There was mild internal bleeding that was easily taken care of. We also discovered that this is not the first time. We saw that all of Jacken's bones have been broken before. Our final conclusion is that he has been greatly abused and very intensively. The head medic said. Hiruzen frowned at the report and wasn't happy. He looked toward the ANBU captain. Bring in Jacken's father and have Ibiki talk to him, Hiruzen said. Isn't that a bit extreme? Asked Koharu. Extreme, yes, but if this boy is being abused to such a degree, then the boy's father must be questioned, Hamura explained. Hiruzen nodded and the ANBU captain was gone. Keep the boy in the hospital until his injuries heal. I will visit him myself and we will get to the bottom of this, Hiruzen said. The head medic bowed and was gone. He turned to his advisors. What do you think? Well, we certainly don't think that this boy had anything to do with this, Koharu said. You're thinking that the father had something to do with this? Hiruzen asked. Perhaps we should have Inoichi look through his mind and find out, Hamura suggested. I believe that's what must be done, Hiruzen agreed. Koharu looked apprehensive about such an action. We don't have a choice. If this boy has been abused for such a time, then he will attempt to hide it. We must know how long this has been going on and must fix it. What is if it can't be fixed? Koharu asked. Then Jacken will be removed from the program. We do not need such instability within the ranks, Hiruzen said. Hamura nodded as did Koharu. Chapter 6. Academy Days Part 3. Jacken slowly opened his eyes and looked around his surroundings. He didn't recognize the room, but there was a strange smell. It didn't smell like sake or rotting garbage. He groaned and moved his arm, scratch his head. That's when he saw the bandages on his arm. He searched some more and found his whole body was wrapped in bandages. No way, that son of a bitch wouldn't do this, he thought. You're finally up. Jacken turned suddenly to see someone. It was a member of the ANBU Black Ops. He could tell that it was a woman because of the voice. She wore a cat mask. She turned toward the door and spoke to someone. She returned to looking after him. Where am I? Jacken asked. You're at Konoha Hospital. The doctors have treated your bruises and fractures, she answered. Am I in trouble? He asked her. You attempted to murder one of your classmates. You should be in the hospital wing of ANBU headquarters. However, the Sandaime wishes to speak with you personally, she answered him. The door opened and Hiruzen entered the room. The ANBU member bowed to him. Thank you, Nico. If you would leave us alone for a moment, Hiruzen ordered. Hi, Sandaime-sama, Nico said and left. The door closed and Jacken was now face to face with the Hokage. He noticed the file in his hand as the ninja leader took a seat. Hiruzen opened the file and began to read out loud from it. Jacken Watanabe, age 9. Father's name is Senichi Watanabe. A former genin of Konoha and mother's name is unknown. Failed the genin exams once because you did not attend the academy on that day. A known troublemaker and bully. Excels in taijutsu and weapons. Second only to Tenten Koguchi. Hiruzen read and closed the file. He looked at Jacken, who gulped at the gaze. I will ask you some questions. Depending on how you answer, will help me in determining your punishment. Is that understood? Yes, Hokage-sama, Jacken said. Your injuries, how did you get them? Hiruzen asked. My injuries were the result of my training, he said. Hiruzen smirked at him. You must not be too afraid of what will happen to you. I know that you're lying. My ANBU has searched your father's apartment. Your father has also been detained and has already been interrogated by one of my best ninja. I know about the abuse, Hiruzen informed. I apologize, Hokage-sama, Jacken said. Why did you attack Naruto Uzumaki? I was ordered to by my father. Why? 2.5 weeks ago, Naruto stopped me from picking on his friend. Irika called my father. He was furious that he was called down to the academy for such a reason. Still, when he learned that Naruto stopped me, he flipped. I was unable to move after the beating he gave me. He threw out and told me not to return until I killed Naruto. Jacken explained. Hiruzen frowned at that. Why didn't you report the abuse to your instructors? Hiruzen asked. Jacken paused for a second, but he sighed and told his answer. He's all I have. I don't even know my mother. That drunk only told me that she was a whore and she was just getting back at him for impregnating her. I know he didn't love me and I know that he wouldn't care if I was dead, but he was all I had. Hiruzen looked at the boy in front of him and his heart went out to him. I do feel for you, son, but you attempted to murder a boy that is personally under my care. Jacken was suddenly scared for his life. You have 2 options before you. The first option is a year at an ANBU prison. After your release, you will be shadowed by an ANBU and under house arrest for another year. If you stay out of trouble, I will see about getting you back into the ninja program. The second option is a trail. If you're found guilty, you will be sent to the Boiling Rock for 15 years. What will be your choice? Hiruzen asked. Jacken was thinking of the choice before him. The boiling rock was Konoha's toughest prisons. Only the meanest and craziest went there. Before making his choice, he just had to know something. "What is to become of my father?" he asked. "Your father has been found guilty of child abuse and reckless endangerment. He will not be leaving prison for quite a while," Hiruzen said. Jacken had a ghost of a smile on his face. "I take the first option, Hokage-sama," Jacken said. "That is a very wise choice." "Nico!" Hiruzen called out. Nico entered the room and dropped to one knee. "Sir. Transfer young Jacken to the ANBU medical wing. Once healed, place him in a cell for 1 year," Hiruzen ordered. "It will be done," she said. Hiruzen took his leave and Nico prepared to move the new prisoner. "So Jacken had been abused all his life and his father wanted me dead?" Naruto asked Hiruzen as they placed another game of shogi. The old Kage nodded, never taking his eyes off the board. "So, he's going to be in prison for a while?" There was another nod from Hiruzen, which made Naruto pout. Hiruzen chuckled at the boy. "I commend you for attempting to distract me, but it won't work. Now pay attention to the board," Hiruzen ordered. Naruto grumbled and stared at the board. A year passed and Naruto got a year older. His training with the old man had been very fruitful for him. His skill with the bow was increasing greatly. He even combined his bow skills with his taijutsu, making Hiruzen take him a bit more seriously. His chakra control was better and he could make it up a tree 3 times before losing control. He was still a bit slow on the tactical part of his training, but he was getting there. He had still not found a way to defeat the old man in shogi, but he would find a way. He had also earned another jutsu for all of his hard work. The name of the technique was called Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. It was an earth technique that allowed him to go underground and snag someone under the earth. It was an awesome technique. Too bad Irika didn't appreciate it like he did. Because of his displeasure, Hiruzen refused to teach him another technique. His friendship with Yakumo and Lee continued to grow. The three were a very tight group that was rarely seen without one another. Lee had improved on his taijutsu and wasn't too far behind Naruto. Yakumo excelled in genjutsu and learned self-defense moves from members of her family. The group added one more to their group. Her name was Tenten Koguchi. She joined the group after witnessing one of Niji's and Naruto's verbal spars. She found the group very interesting and was part of the group from then on. Speaking of Niji and Naruto, the two had a friendly type of rivalry. They spared and competed just like everyone else, but their verbal battles were some of the most intense thing anyone witnessed. Niji still believed that everyone's fate was set in stone. Naruto believed that a person's fate is made by said person. There was never really a victor as neither person convinced the other. Still, Naruto did tell Niji that he enjoyed these little battles of theirs. Niji didn't admit to Naruto, but he did enjoy the talks as well. With half the year gone, Naruto was enjoying getting stronger and stronger. His life was actually good for once. However, tonight's events would shake his foundation. He would need to be ready for what was about to come. Naruto woke up in the dead of night. He rubbed his eyes out and looked out his window. It was still so dark out, but he was actually waking up. He got out of bed and made his way to the kitchen. He went into the fridge and got him some milk. He poured some in a metal pot and turned the fire on the stove. He waited until he saw tiny bubbles. He turned off the stove and poured the milk in a glass. He drank the warm milk down in a few gulps. He put the glass in the sink and made his way back to his room. On his way back, he caught sight of something on the balcony. He was curious, so he made his way over to the balcony to see what's up. He was close enough to make out the old man. He was dressed in his Hokage robes and his back was toward him. He also caught sight of someone else. He looked like one of those ANBU Black Ops guys. Why was one of them doing here at this time of night? He attempted to get closer to hear them talk, but Hiruzen's voice stopped him. "Naruto, what are you doing up at this hour?" Hiruzen spoke with authority. Naruto snapped at attention. "Sorry, sensei, I woke up. I had some warm milk and was on my way back to bed," Naruto answered quickly. "Go to bed, Naruto, we will talk in the morning," Hiruzen ordered in a more gentle tone. "Hi, sensei." Naruto quickly turned and made his way to his room. The ANBU member faced Hiruzen again when he was sure that Naruto was back in his room. "He's grown, Hokage-sama," the ANBU member said. "Yes, I am very proud of how he's coming along," Hiruzen said. The two were silent for a while before Hiruzen sighed. I am sorry about what was forced upon you. I tried to settle things peacefully. I know that, sir, but this had to be done. My father was a stubborn and stupid man. His and the clan's actions would have led to another great ninja world war. I've seen enough war, he said. Is there anything I can do? Please tell me and I will do my best to honor your wishes. All I ask is that you keep Sasuke safe and keep him away from Danzo's grasp. Everything has already been done to assure my future. You place a burden on your brother. Do you truly wish this for him? My death at the hands of Sasuke will be my atonement. Just please, keep him safe. Hiruzen sighed and turned his attention to the moon. I will honor your request. I will keep Sasuke safe. I thank you, Hokage-sama. I believe it is time for you to go, Itachi. The ANBU will be busy with the investigation. I will have to mark you down in the bingo book, Hiruzen said. Itachi nodded and vanished. Hiruzen just sighed again. He just hoped that Naruto would be a better Hokage than he was. The next day at lunch, Naruto was with Lee and Tenten. As they ate, Yakumo was running toward them. She stopped at their table and took a few deep breaths. Guys, did you hear the big news? She shouted. Big news? Wondered Naruto. The Uchiha clan has been wiped out, Yakumo blurted out. That surprised everyone at the table and nearby. You're joking. The whole clan is gone, Naruto shouted. Yeah, they were all killed overnight. Everyone was killed but one person, Yakumo explained. So there's a survivor? Who is it? Asked Tenten. Sasuke Uchiha. Everyone turned to see Neji leaning against the wall. What else do you know, Neji-san? Naruto asked. Sasuke was spared death. The one who eliminated the Uchiha clan was Itachi Uchiha, Neji said. Everyone was more shocked by this information. You can't be serious. The prodigy of the clan killed his own family? Lee exclaimed. Naruto looked at Neji and could tell that he wasn't lying. Why would Itachi wipe out his whole clan? Was there something happening within the Uchiha clan? It is unwise to dwell on this, Uzumaki. It was. Neji, let's not do this now. Someone has just lost their family. You of all people should know how that feels, Naruto said to him. Neji looked off in the distance before nodding. He took his leave after that. Naruto had to find out more about what happened. I should have all three of you killed for going behind me. How dare you do this without my consent? Hiruzen roared. You were being naive if you believed that you could have found a way other than death. They were traitors and deserved to die, Danzo said. Danzo is right, Hiruzen. They were planning a coup d'etat. They are traitors. Hamura added. The same can be said about you. Undermining the Hokage, that's considered treason as well. Maybe I should have you families killed. Hiruzen snarled. Do not threaten us, Hiruzen, Hamura said with an edge. Or you'll do what? He returned with an equal edge. Enough, both of you. What's done is done and cannot be changed, Koharu shouted. The two glared at each other some more before Hiruzen scoffed. Leave, he ordered. Danzo and Hamura quickly left. Koharu stayed behind and faced her old teammate. You aren't making many friends, Hiruzen, she said. You couldn't give me any more time? I could have found a solution. Now we have a boy whose objective in life will be nothing but vengeance. Can you live with that, Koharu? Hiruzen asked. It wasn't the best of ideas, but what would have done if there was no other way? Koharu asked and left his office. Hiruzen just sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. He just hoped that Konoha would be forgiven for such an action. Chapter 7, Graduation. The sun rose over Konoha and basted it with its glow. Its rays made its way through several windows, disturbing the sleep of some. One of some was Naruto. The sunlight warmed his face and forced him to open his eyes. He groaned and glared at his window. He looked toward his clock and saw that it was too early. He turned to his side to go back to sleep, but the sun kept bothering him. After a few seconds, Naruto gave in and sat up on his bed. He yawned and had a sour look on his face. He looked again to his alarm clock and then looked at his calendar. He narrowed his eyes a little and saw that today was the genin exam. Now awake, Naruto hopped out of bed. He reached for his bath stuff and made his way to his bathroom. It happened 6 months ago. Hiruzen managed to find him another place. This place was a shinobi housing area. He remembered the people that he met when he first moved in. The guy in the green spandex left a very lasting impression. After a shower and a cup of ramen, Naruto was out the door. He greeted several ninja who greeted him back as he left the district. Naruto didn't rush toward the academy as he was very early. He thought about going to pick up Yakumo when he bumped into someone. "What, where you're? Oh, it's you. What's the deal bumping into me, pipsqueak?" The teen growled. "Oh yeah, it's my fault. Please spare me, oh mighty Jacken." Naruto spoke in a sarcastic tone. The two glared at each other before Jacken scoffed and walked off. Naruto just sighed as he watched Jacken walk away. About a year ago, Jacken returned to the academy. His return brought a lot of rumors and worry to everyone. It was no secret about what Jacken attempted to do. The class could feel the tension between the two. A week later, Jacken approached Naruto. Naruto was flanked by Neji, Tenten, Yakumo and Lee as they didn't trust the older teen. Jacken gave his version of an apology which pissed the group off. Naruto just said that he would stay out of Jacken's path and he would do the same. Jacken agreed and walked off. After that, Jacken went back to being Jacken. He didn't bully anyone anymore, but he had become very arrogant. The reason for this was because he was the fourth best student and did this within 2 months. He bragged about and the class didn't hear the end of it. He also took the ire of Tenten. Apparently, Jacken took exception of the fact that he was below her in accuracy and voiced it. It wasn't just the fact that he questioned her skills, but he gave her a nickname, Buns. Jacken almost lost his lower horn, as she had to be restrained by Lee, Naruto, and Iruka. Since then, the two were always on bad terms. Naruto just shrugged and continued on his way to the Kurama compound. Iruka entered the class with several other instructors of the academy. Everyone sat in the ready and awaited Iruka's instructions. "Welcome to the Genin exams. We will be testing you on the knowledge and skills that you have learned here. The exam will be tested in 3 parts. The first part will be a written exam. The second part will be a physical exam consisting of 3 parts. The final part of the exam will be a test of the 3 basic jutsu. Do you all understand?" Iruka asked. "Hi, sensei," they all said. "All right then, let's begin the exam," Iruka said. Naruto stood in front of Iruka and the academy. He was prepared for anything they might try. "Okay, Naruto, we'll begin with the Kawarimi no Jutsu," Iruka said. "All ready, did sensei," Naruto said as he was next to Iruka. Iruka was impressed that he could do that with a person as were the others. "Okay. Next I need you to henge into a person of your choice," Iruka said. Naruto nodded and did as he was told. The person he chose was the head of the Hyuga clan, Hayashi. 2 instructors looked him over for flaws and were very impressed. He even had the expression of the Hyuga head. "That was very good. Now, I know that you have mastered the Kage Bunshin, so we want you to demonstrate another jutsu," Iruka said. "I understand," Naruto said. Naruto took a deep breath. He did the tiger seal and pushed out his chakra. The examiners were amazed when water started to form. After a while, 2 clones appeared on either side of Naruto. Naruto released a breath and stopped using chakra. "Are those Mizu Bunshin?" asked one examiner. "Yeah, I got a scroll of Bunshin Jutsu for my birthday. The person who gave me the gift thought I should have diversity," Naruto explained. "Well then, let give your forehead protector. You deserve it," Iruka said happily. Naruto took his headband and tied it around his head. He gave everyone a toothy grin. Naruto walked out of the academy in good spirits. He was now a ninja of Konoha. He looked around and saw the old man talking with several parents. His mood soured a little. He looked around and saw that everyone who had passed was being greeted by a loved one. Even Jacken had someone waiting to congratulate him. Naruto sighed sadly at that. He never had a family, so he didn't know how it felt to be loved. As he made his way out, he heard the whispers. Most were not happy about his passing and silently voiced their displeasure. Usually, he would ignore the whispers, but this time it was kind of hard. He just needed to get out of here. "Naruto!" someone shouted. Naruto looked up and saw Tashiko, Konohamaru, and Asuma waving at him. He made his way toward them. "Hey you guys, what going on?" Naruto asked. "That's strange. I thought you would be happy that you graduated. We came down here to congratulate you," Asuma said. "Why you guys are here for me?" Naruto asked surprised. "Of course we are. What do you think that we're here for?" Tashiko asked. She knelt down and hugged him. I'm very proud of you, Naruto, she said. As she released him, Konohamaru gave him a bump. You're the man, boss? Konohamaru said. Naruto was very stunned, but he slowly broke into a smile. Well, I am that great, Naruto boasted. The group laughed with him. Iruka and Hiruzen looked on with smiles. The party at the Kurama compound was in full swing. Yakumo had invited Naruto, Lee, and Tenten to come. They enjoyed them and their new status as genin. As the spoke, Hiruzen Sarutobi appeared. Hello, everyone. May I borrow Naruto for a minute? Hiruzen asked. They nodded and Hiruzen led Naruto away from the party. The two were alone in the courtyard. First of all, let me say that I am very proud of you. You have exceeded my every expectation. However, our time as master and student has come to an end. Sensei, Naruto began. No, Naruto, you will have a new sensei who will be leading you from now on. They will be teaching you now, Hiruzen explained. I understand, sensei, Naruto said sadly. Now don't be that way. I do have one gift for you. It's a new technique, Hiruzen said. Naruto instantly cheered up. Hiruzen smiled and did the hand seals for the Kuchiyose no Jutsu. Out of the smoke, Monkey Enma appeared. He wasn't alone as another monkey stood with him. He looked like he was very bored. What am I doing here, Gramps? I was having a nice time having a soak, the monkey said. I don't know where you father went wrong with you, Enma growled. Hiruzen chuckled and turned to a very confused Naruto. Naruto, I would like to introduce you to Sora, Hiruzen introduced. Hey, Sora said lazily. Hi, what's going on, old man? Naruto asked. I will explain it to you, Naruto. Hiruzen came with a request to allow you to sign the monkey summoning scroll. As he knows, that is not possible. The monkey clan is allied only with the Sarutobi clan and will forever be with them. However, we came to a compromise, as it were. My grandson here will be your personal summon. He will give you a personal tattoo and you will only be able to summon him, Enma explained. Why are you having me do this again? Sora asked. Because I said so. Now shut up and get to it, Enma said and shoved him toward Naruto. Sora mumbled about something before going toward Naruto. The two stared at each other before Sora bit Naruto in the arm. The blonde howled in pain and threw Sora off. The monkey flipped and landed easily. What the hell, man? Naruto shouted. Man, you're loud. I needed to inject you with some of my saliva. Look at your arm, Sora said. Naruto did just that and saw that a tattoo was appearing. It looked like a monkey's face. You could have warned me before you did that, Naruto said angrily. Whatever. Sora turned to his grandfather. Can I go now? Enma sighed and waved him off. Sora was gone in a puff of smoke and soon after Enma did too. Hiruzen chuckled at Naruto, who looked at him with a glare. He pulled out a scroll and handed it to him. Those are the signs from the Kuchiyose no Jutsu. Practice it every day until you can do it in your sleep, Hiruzen ordered. Yeah, Naruto grumbled. He then turned happy and looked at his former sensei. Thanks, sensei, for everything. It was my pleasure, Naruto. Now, let's rejoin the party. The two made their way back inside the compound. Hiruzen and the academy staff were beginning to arrange the teams. From his view, the Hokage did not see anyone interesting. He did not expect a strong coming of this year's class. He perked up when he heard Naruto's name. So, who do we place Naruto Uzumaki with? Asked one instructor. I would have placed him with Kurama and Rock Lee, but seeing that Lee was this year's dead last, we placed him with Niji and Tenten, said another. We could still place him with Kurama-san, but who will be the third member? If I make a suggestion, Hiruzen said. Everyone turned toward the Hokage. I would like to place Jacken along with Yakumo and Naruto. But Hokage-sama, is that wise? Iruka exclaimed. It is a known fact that Naruto and Jacken do not really like each other. Add the fact that neither Naruto or Yakumo trust him. Their chances of success are next to nil. I understand your reservations about the team, but I believe that they can do very well together. Their individual skills complement each other, and I have faith that they can work well together, Hiruzen explained. Still, who could keep such a team in line and bring them together? Asked an instructor. Hiruzen smiled and passed a folder around to the academy instructors. Everyone was shocked by the Hokage's choice. Hokage-sama, you can't be serious? Not even Uzumaki deserves this. Another instructor exclaimed. I agree. There's no telling what she will do to them. I'm quite sure that they will do fine under her. I think that they will be one of our strongest teams in the near future. Hiruzen said with a smile. Everyone began to wonder if it was time for the man to retire. It would be a week before everyone returned back to the academy. It was time for everyone to be paired off into teams and to meet their Jonin instructors. Irika entered the class and called for order. Once everyone settled down, Irika faced the class. I am proud of all of you. You have passed the academy and are ready to start your career as shinobi. I know that you will carry those symbols on your headbands with pride and honor. Now you will be assigned to Team So listen for your name. Team 1. Irika called out. Naruto didn't pay attention as Irika called out teams. He hoped that he would be paired with Yakumo and Lee. He felt that they would be a very good team. Yakumo could cover them while he and Lee beat them senseless. Team 9. Rock Lee, Tenten Koguchi and Niji Hyuga. Irika said. Naruto kind of frowned at that. He agreed that they were a great team, but he knew that Niji would belittle his friend. He just hoped that their sensei would improve Lee's taijutsu. After hearing the names of Team 12, Irika called out the next team. Team 12, Irika said with pause. He sighed and finally talked. Naruto Uzumaki, Yakumo Kurama and Jacken. Everyone was silent and in shock. Even Niji was shocked. You could drop a pin in the room and everyone within the academy. I'm sorry, but could you run that by me again? Asked Jacken. I'm sorry, by that is the team that you have been assigned to. You will be teamed with Naruto and Yakumo. Irika said. Yakumo jumped out of her seat. You can't be serious about this, sensei. You're teaming us with a criminal, a convicted murderer, Yakumo exclaimed. Hey, I didn't kill anyone. I went to jail for attempted murder. Get it right, Jacken shouted. Irika sighed and rubbed his forehead. Suddenly a black ball came flying through the window. It exploded in a shower of confetti and smoke. When it cleared, a woman with a tam trench coat and nothing much else stood in front of a banner. The banner read, The Sexy and Deadly Sensei of Team 12, Anko Mitarashi. She had a dango stick in her mouth and a wicked smile on her face. All right, maggots. Your date with devil has arrived. Chapter 8, Team Enko. The class was still in shock as this woman stood proudly in front of her banner. Some of the boys were gawking at her mostly because of how she was dressed. After a few seconds, Irika appeared from behind the banner. He didn't look very happy with the woman in front of him. Why do you do this every time? Irika asked, annoyed. What flew up your butt and died? I'm just here to pick up my team, Enko said. The senseis of the teams are supposed to pick them up after lunch, Irika explained. Oh, sorry about that, Enko said sheepishly. She turned to the class. Which one of you is Team 12? The class pointed to Naruto, Yakumo, and Jacken very quickly. Enko took 3 kunai and threw them at each of them. They flinched a little, but the kunais were never meant to hit them. They looked to see a small note attached to it. What's this? Asked Jacken. That's the location of where I'll be. I'm certainly not returning to come and get you, so you'll meet me there. Just make sure that you're prepared and bring your weapons, Enko instructed. Why would we need to do that? Asked Yakumo. Enko smiled, but it was a happy smile. You'll see, heh heh heh, Enko said with a dark chuckle. Enko left through the window. Naruto, Yakumo, and Jacken looked at Irika, who just sighed. It was now noon and Team 12 was making their way to the location on the paper. Yakumo walked with Naruto while Jacken was ahead of them. It was mostly because Yakumo kept herself and Naruto away from him. Jacken didn't bother to look back at them. Naruto looked at the team he was put on and sighed. He was also curious about his old sensei's reason for placing Jacken together with him. While he may have forgiven Jacken on the attempt of his life, he had not forgotten about it. Still, the old man must have had a reason. He would trust his judgment on this. After a while, they finally reached the location. It looked like a training ground, but it was covered by a gate. It had danger signs all over the place. The forest was massive and dark. They all looked around for Enko when they heard the sound of something flying through the air. They each deflected something with kunai and waited. I'll give you little snots an A for your reflexes, but an F for your defensive positions. Enko's voice rang out. The team found her sitting out a branch with a dango stick in her mouth. She dropped off the branch and landed in front of them. Each of them was still cautious of her intentions, which pleased her. Don't worry. I'm no longer going to attack. Let's get our introductions over with before we continue. What are you talking about? Yakumo asked. What are you, stupid? Introduce yourselves. What are your likes, dislikes, hobbies, interest, stuff like that? Enko said. Why do you go first? You are the unknown among the group, Naruto said. That is true. The name is Enko Mitarashi, interrogator and assassin. My likes are snakes, blood, dango, and a little fun, Enko said suggestively. I dislike a lot of things, too much to say. Interest, I would say scaring the crap out of people and pissing people off, she said. The team looked at her in confusion and shock. This chick is crazy, Jacken thought. She likes blood. What kind of sick people does the ninja force have? Yakumo thought. She's hiding something. Whatever it is, it has caused her a lot of pain, Naruto thought as he observed her. Enko looked at the team and smirked. Are you thinking bad thoughts about me? They all went rigged. Naughty children, I should punish you. But since we are on the clock, I'll let it slide, Enko said with amusement. She then pointed to Naruto. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like my friends, ramen, jutsu, the old man and his family. I dislike the 3 minutes that it takes for ramen to finish, people who are quick to judge, and a certain condition of mine. My interests include meditation, pranks, and learning jutsu, Naruto said. Enko nodded and then pointed at Yakumo. I am Yakumo Kurama. I like my friends, my family, genjutsu, and sweets. My dislikes are Jacken, Kurenai Yuhi, ID, and Niji Hyuga. My interests include tea ceremonies, learning genjutsu, and reading, she said. Enko smirked at her before pointing at Jacken. The name is Jacken, just Jacken. I like spicy stuff, cute girls, and fighting. I dislike midgets, pampered princess, and crazy women. My interests include fighting, training, and sleeping, Jacken said plainly. So, I have a bully who is clearly overcompensating for something. Jacken glared at her. A woman with a hit list and sweet tooth, Yakumo glared at her. And a monk who's a mystery, Naruto glared at her. Well, I've worked with worst. Okay then, let's get to the business at hand. It's time for you guys to take the real test. Test? What test? We are already genin, Jacken shouted. Did you really believe that just because you can do a clone, a replacement, and a transformation you're automatically genin of Konoha? Give me a break. The true exam is given by me, and we're about to start. Enko disappeared from view. All 3 genin were struck in the temple and were knocked unconscious. Enko reappeared over her 3 fallen future students. Right now. Yakumo awoke and rubbed her head. She didn't understand why it hurt a little until she remembered what the crazy woman did. Finally, you're up. Yakumo turned to see Jacken. She immediately went for a kunai when she was stopped by Naruto. This isn't the time, Yakumo, Naruto said. Yakumo nodded but still glared at the older teen. He just sighed and looked around the place. Naruto did the same as did Yakumo. Where are we? She asked. My guess is that we're in the forest, Naruto said. Figure that out on your own, genius? Jacken mocked. Why don't you shut up, Jacken? At least he's trying to find a way out of this. Bet you're just plotting your next murder. Yakumo spat. You know something? I'm getting sick and tired of your crap. You don't even know the events that led up to what I did. I don't need to be judged by someone who can't even control her own powers, Jacken shouted. Don't speak as if you know me, Yakumo roared. Why don't you follow your own advice? Jacken roared back. Shut up, the both of you. There's something coming, Naruto shouted. That something turned out to be a huge blue-colored snake. It beards its fangs at them and launches itself at them. They all jumped out of the way as the snake crashed into where they were standing. They each landed and faced the reptile that looked at each of them. The snake looked at Naruto and moved fast to ensnare him. Naruto saw it coming and disappeared before the snake could wrap him up. He popped out of the ground next to Yakumo. The girl looked at him. Let's get the hell out of here, she shouted. We can't leave, Jacken. I need you to use an area-wide genjutsu, Naruto said. Yakumo looked ready to complain but nodded. She did some hand seals. Megan, Jubaku Satsu, Yakumo shouted. Thousands of vines shot out of the ground and wrapped around the snake. The snake bucked against the vines but couldn't free itself. Naruto called Jacken, who did not argue. Together they all ran into the forest. As they ran, Jacken turned to his teammates. I figured that you two would have left me to the snake, he said. I wanted to, but Naruto stopped me, Yakumo said. Whatever, I'll pay you back later. Not like I want to own you anything, Jacken spoke. Kami, what the hell was the Hokage thinking? I would have gladly been with Lee rather than you, Yakumo spat. Oh, here we go again, Jacken said. Okay, I'm sick of this, Naruto growled. He stopped and stood his ground. The other two stopped as well. Naruto, what are you doing? That snake will be after us soon, Yakumo said. I'm sick and tired of this argument stuff. I refuse to run along with either of you with all this bickering. We're a team, and a team sticks together despite their dislike for each other, Naruto shouted. He turned to Jacken. Our history is not the best in the world. You don't respect me, and I don't respect you. I may have forgiven the attack, but I have not forgotten. Still, I will trust you with my life because I trust your skills. Naruto then turned to Yakumo. Yakumo, you are one of my best friends, but you must let this go. You really don't know the story behind the attack. You can't just keep alienating him just before of something that was out of his control. Both Jacken and Yakumo looked a bit shameful as Naruto dressed them down. Naruto took a deep breath and looked at them. Look, I'm not saying we have to be friends, but we are comrades. Let's just put our differences aside so well can get out of this psycho's death trap, he said. Yakumo and Jacken looked at each other before turning back to Naruto. Fine, I'll work with you, Uzumaki. Just as long as you know that we ain't friends, Jacken said. I guess I can put my difference aside, Yakumo said a little snotty. Good, because I'm really going to need your help. Something tells me that crazy woman sent that snake after us, Naruto said. So what your plan, Uzumaki? Jacken asked. The snake slithered across the ground looking for its prey. Her mistress said that they had headed in this direction. It wondered why she was playing these games. That damn woman told her that there was food for her in the form of 3 humans. She said nothing about them being ninja. Suddenly she was on edge. There was something in the area that told her to be cautious. She moved silently across the ground and looked out for any attack. That's when it suddenly got dark. The snake lifted her head to see a huge fireball coming at her. She slithered fast as the fireball hit the ground with a boom. Suddenly, she began to descend into darkness, and there was a bright flash of light. Then there was darkness again. Team 12 appeared out of trees and looked as their trap was successful. Their attacker was under rubble and now dead. Well, that worked out well, Jacken said. Pretty anticlimactic if you ask me, Yakumo said. Suddenly there was a rumble from inside the pit. The snake shot out of the ground and hissed angrily at the team. She caught sight of Naruto and swung her tail. Naruto dodged the first strike but did see the second attack. He was sent flying into a large tree. Naruto fell to the ground in a heap and groaned in pain. The snake charged at the fallen Naruto when a sickle slashed her across the nose. She roared in pain as Yakumo and Jacken checked on Naruto. The snake hissed at them and readied itself for an attack. Jacken stood in front of the two, surprising Yakumo. Jacken held a custom Kusarigama and stood in a defensive stance. How is he? He asked, not taking his eyes off the snake. I'll be fine, Naruto grunted out. Yakumo helped him to his feet. He stood next to Jacken. Okay. Anybody come up with a plan B? I say we turn this lizard into a wallet and be done with it. Did the Sandaime teach you any fire jutsus? Jacken asked. Nope. I know the Kage Bunshin, Mizu Bunshin, Shinjuzanshu no Jutsu and the academy stuff, Naruto answered. What about you? Jacken asked Yakumo. I only know genjutsu that my uncle taught me, Yakumo explained. All right then, you cover us. Pipsqueak. Give me a diversion and I'll rip this lizard's eye out, Jacken ordered. The two nodded and prepared themselves. The large snake hissed and lunged at them. That's enough, a voice rang out. The snake stopped its lunge and turned to the sound of the voice. Team 12 did so as well and they saw their sensei. The snake moved toward her, hissing angrily at her. Oh, stop your whining. So they nicked your nose. At least they impressed me. Now go home and rest. The snake hissed once more before leaving in a puff of smoke. With the snake gone, Naruto gave out and grabbed his chest. Yakumo and Jacken caught him before he hit the ground. Anko walked up to them. He looks hurt. Why don't we get out of the forest? Enko asked cheerfully. The walk through the forest was a quiet but tense journey. Enko ignored the glares of Yakumo, Naruto, and Jacken. Naruto was able to walk under his own power after a few minutes, which brought questions to his teammates' head. Enko could feel the intent of the three, and it just made her smile more. Well, I got to say that you three surprised me. Considering your history, I thought that you would fail. You almost did, and if it wasn't for the blonde, I would have just allowed my pet to eat you, Enko said without facing them. So, it was you, Naruto growled. Don't be like that. I did say that you three surprised me. Now we can get to the true life of a ninja, Enko said. What the hell are you talking about? Jacken spat. You passed my test, but just barely, Enko mocked. You psycho, you call what you did to us a test. You could have killed us, Yakumo shouted. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. Besides, I wanted to know if it was possible to put your history behind you and work as a team. This was a test of teamwork? Naruto asked. Enko stopped and faced her team. According to the Hokage, you three have the potential to be an espionage/assassination team. Each of you has the skills for it. Usually, spies work alone, but you guys make a solid team. This test was just to see if you can each put you petty dislike for each other behind you to work together, Enko explained. There could have been a better way to do this, Yakumo growled. Where's the fun in that? Enko asked and resumed walking. The team sighed and followed her. It would be another hour before they reached the exit. Enko locked the place up before turning her attention back to her team. Well, I've got to go and let the Hokage know of my team's success. Meet me here at 8, she said and was gone. The team just looked at each other for a little while. Naruto finally broke the silence. I'm heading the Ichirakus. Are you guys coming? Naruto asked. Are you buying? Jacken asked. Naruto just shrugged and walked away. Jacken followed him with his hands in his pockets. Yakumo soon followed, and the three of them made their way to the ramen stand. Chapter 9, D-Rank, the Devil's Cruel Joke. Enko walked toward the Hokage's office with a bit of a step. She had finally beaten those stuffy old crones and had gotten herself a team. She began to think about the torture that she would put them through. She giggled like a schoolgirl before she reached the office of the Sandaime. The secretary looked at her and allowed her to pass. She entered the room with a big smile. Lord Hokage, I have some great news, Enko said, her mood deflating. Inside with the Sandaime were three of her most hated people. They were the elders of Konoha. Hiruzen gave her an apologetic look before her spoke. Enko Mitarashi, how went your test? At Ichiraku Ramen, Team 12 was eating their ramen in silence. The stand's owners, Tucci and Ayam, felt the tension in the air between the group. Naruto was now on his third bowl while Jacken was eating a very large beef ramen. Yakumo was picking at her food as she thought back to what Naruto had shouted at her back in the forest. She took a deep breath and turned to her new teammates. Naruto, Jacken, Yakumo called out. The two stopped eating to look at her. If you would, can you tell me why it happened? Why what happened? Naruto asked. Why he tried to kill you, Yakumo answered. She saw Jacken get ready to leave and quickly spoke. What I mean is, if you can explain to me? Do you really want to know, or are you just going to judge? Jacken asked with a sarcastic tone. No, please explain it to me. If we are truly to be a team, then we should get it all out, Yakumo said. Jacken looked at her for a few seconds before smirking. All right then, I was ordered to kill Naruto, Jacken said. What does that mean? Asked Yakumo. It's just like I said. I was ordered to kill Naruto by my father, he said. Why would your father want Naruto dead? Yakumo asked. You got me. It seems like most of the village hates the pipsqueak. My father beat me up and told me not to come back until I killed him, Jacken said. Yakumo still didn't understand, but she was very aware about how the village treated Naruto. With the exception of the Sandaime's family, the ramen stand owners and her clan, everyone else hated Naruto. She had asked him about that once and Naruto didn't tell her. She didn't push him as he told her that one day he would explain it. You know, I don't understand why the village doesn't like you. Is it because of those pranks you did back in the day? Jacken asked. Not really, it's much bigger than that, which I'm not going to explain. Yakumo and Lee, I'll tell someday, but you've got a long way before I tell you anything, Naruto replied. Jacken just snorted at him. You can keep your secrets, Pipsqueak. I don't care one way or the other. Just as long as you watch my back, I'll watch yours, Jacken said. The team went back to eating in silence before Jacken spoke again. So, what's the deal with your powers, Yakumo? Word around the village, you nearly killed your parents with it. Once in a generation, there is a member of my clan whose ability in Jinjutsu is so strong that it makes the damage real. I am one of those people. I was being trained to control it, but the person I thought I could trust didn't trust my abilities and sealed my powers. I misinterpreted a discussion and got angry. The result was the fire. Yakumo explained. This caused Jacken to chuckle. So you had a temper tantrum? Jacken asked, trying to hold in his laughter. Yakumo glared at him and looked ready to cast a just on him. Calm down, you two, you're not going to fight around the stand. This is holy ground and I will not allow you to disturb it, Naruto said strongly. Okay, I'll stop, Jacken said. Yakumo huffed and turned back to her ramen. So, can you control it now? He asked. I can, but only a little. The seal that Jiraiya-sama placed on me allows my second personality and I to merge powers, Yakumo said. She lifted the back of her hair to show the seal that was placed on her. So do you have a special type of genjutsu you like to use? Jacken asked. Well, our clan mostly uses binding genjutsu to disable our opponents, Yakumo said when Jacken cut her off. That's dull. Oh, you know what you should do? Conjure up ghosts or specters, Jacken said excitedly. I've been saying that for years now. Finally, someone makes sense, Naruto added. You are both so juvenile, Yakumo huffed. The team continued their talks until they were full. A slam of a hand on the Sandaime's desk was heard from outside. Inside, Hamura was glaring at Anko. Koharu also looked very angry while Hiruzen and Danzo looked calm. Anko just dug into her ear like it was no big deal. What the hell were you thinking, Mitarashi? Not only did you take 3 fresh genin into the forest of death, but one of them was a clan heiress, Hamura shouted. I didn't know that I had to coddle an heiress. I thought I was training ninja, Anko said without a care. That will be enough of your attitude. What you did was reckless and stupid, Koharu added. They survived, didn't they? I thought you would be happy to know that they passed, Anko countered. By your report, they barely passed your exam, Danzo spoke. Yeah, but they have so much potential. I can work with them easily and it would be fun, Anko said with a smile. Do you see how stupid it was to make her a Jonin sensei? Who knows what she has planned for them, Hamura said. Despite her lack of judgment, she now has a team. I trust Anko will do right by her new team, Hiruzen said. Hamura scoffed and walked out of the room. Danzo and Koharu soon followed, giving Anko dirty looks. Anko sneered at them. Dried up old fossils, Anko muttered. So, can you bring out their potential, Anko? Hiruzen asked. No sweat. I'll make them into the most badass team ever, Anko cheered. Hiruzen only smirked at her antics. The next day, Team Anko met back at the training grounds. Anko looked at her charges and noticed that they were a bit different than before. While they all held a similar expression, it seemed like they had put their pettiness farther behind them. She dared thought that they had become friends. Okay, my little rats, today you are true ninjas. Before we begin, it's time to learn the rules of Anko. Anko spoke. Rules of Anko? Yakumo repeated. That sounds foreboding, Jacken added. Foreboding my ass. This is going to be torture, Naruto added. If you all are quite done, Anko said with an edge. The 3 genin clammed up and waited for her to finish. Rule number 1. I'm the boss and you will do as I say. Rule number 2. You will give it your all when we train. I don't want to hear your bitching about how hard it is. Rule number 3. There will be no talking about my training. To do so would result in a horrible punishment. The group gulped. There are more rules, but you'll learn them as we go along. Now it's training time, Anko said and summoned some snakes. All right, maggots, laps around the forest. Let's go. The snakes hissed and gave chase to the 3 genin who took off like a shot. It was now noon and Anko looked at her laid-out genin. She sighed and placed her hands on her hips. You 3 are pathetic. I can't believe that you're so tired after an hour spar. You almost had me last time, Anko said. Psychotic bitch, muttered Jacken. I'll make you pay. muttered Yakumo. You've made my list, muttered Naruto. Anko sighed at them. If you have the energy to threaten me, then I guess you don't need lunch, Anko said with a smile. They groaned and picked themselves off the ground. They glared at their teacher and readied themselves for another assault. As they made their move, an alarm clock rang. Anko clapped her hands together. That ends today's training. Go and get some lunch and meet me at the tower, she ordered before disappearing via Shunshin. Why do I feel that we will not live through this? Yakumo asked. Could be worse, Naruto said. We are under the control of a crazy and mentally unstable kunoichi with a fetish for pain. How could it be worse than this? Jacken asked. We could be under someone just as worst, Naruto said lamely. Jacken and Yakumo gave him a look. Team 12 entered the mission to get their first mission. Each was very anxious to dive into the world of their profession. They all noticed that Anko was trying to hold in laughter for some reason. They looked at the Hokage, who gave them a smile. Team 12, are you ready for your first mission? Hiruzen asked. Yes, Hokage-sama, they all said. Good. Your first mission is the capture of the daimyo's cat, Tora, Hiruzen said. All three genin looked at the Hokage with a look of pure shock. Anko took this moment to get a picture of their expressions. It would be one of her most favorite pictures for years to come. 1 month, one of the longest months of Naruto's, Yakumo's, and Jacken's life. How could they call these chores missions? So far, they had done nothing but these chores for a whole month. They all glared at their sensei, who just watched their humiliation with a grin. How were the skills they learned in the academy supposed to work do such things? Anko did explain what these missions were supposed to do, but it didn't make them any more annoying. Their first mission was one of the hardest missions to date. Whatever Madame Shirjimi was doing to the blasted thing needed to stop, and stop now. The next time the cat got free, Team 12 was going to kill it. It was something that each member of the team agreed on. In fact, Anko was barely in time to save the cat from a pitfall that was laced with pikes at the bottom. Then there was the mission to babysit the Terror Twins. The twins of a councilman were nothing but trouble and were very defiant in taking orders from any of them. They actually managed to behave one time for the team. However, that mission was given away to another genin squad. Naruto's game of ninja got a little out of hand. The hero twins were pissing their pants as Jacken's version of a guillotine was used with real weapons. Now, there was this mission. They currently were at the Inuzuka kennels. The mission was to wash the dogs, a very simple mission. Jacken was having a much easier time cleaning the dogs. When he was asked, all he said, "It's an animal thing." Naruto wasn't having too much problems. There were some dogs that he kept away from since they growled at him, but he was getting the job done. The one who had the most problems was Yakumo. She was still attempting to get the same dog washed. It was a small white puppy that didn't wish to get washed. It belonged to a rude and rowdy boy named Kiba. Kiba just laughed at Yakumo, who was getting angrier with every passing minute. Then Kiba did something incredibly stupid. I can't believe they let a weak girl like you graduate. The academy is going to be a breeze, Kiba commented. Yakumo stopped chasing the puppy and took a deep breath. Kiba looked at her in confusion when he saw her begin to change. The sky began to get dark and Yakumo's hair began to whip around wildly. When she turned to face him, Kiba looked very afraid. Yakumo's face turned old and scary. Her hands turned into claws. Her teeth sharpened and looked like needles. Yakumo unleashed an inhuman screech which scared Kiba stiff. Do you have something to say, you little bitch? Yakumo asked a scary, high-pitched voice. When Kiba said nothing, her head grew and her fangs got wider. I said, do you have something to say? And no ma'am, Kiba squeaked. Leave, Yakumo shouted. Kiba took off like a shot, a trail of water coming from his pants. Yakumo suddenly returned to normal before looking at the puppy, who was also scary stiff. She glared at the puppy before pointing to the tub of soap and water. The puppy complied and hopped into the tub. Yakumo sighed before doing her job. Her teammates looked at her in shock and awe. That was badass, Jacken said, stunned. Wow, she's scarier than Anko-sensei, Naruto whispered. Yakumo snapped her head toward the two who held their hands up in defense. Anko only smiled in amusement. Anko and her team walked out of the Hokage Tower. They were all tried and could wait to get home. Suddenly, they noticed that Anko had stopped. All three looked at her with cautious. Anko saw this and looked a bit hurt. "Oh, come on. I'm not that bad," Anko said with a pout. The team wasn't buying it and stood in alert. She smiled and raised her hands in surrender. Okay, I'll behave. I just have to say that I am." Anko looked around for a second and saw that there were too many people here. She quickly led her team into an ally where they can be alone. Once she was sure that no one could hear them, she continued. "As I was saying, I want to say that you've been doing a great job as of late." The team looked at her in shock. "Oh my God! It's an imposter!" Jacken shouted. He got kicked in the face by Anko and was sent flying out the ally. "That's what I get for being nice. Be at the training grounds at 8 a.m., Anko said and walked away. Yakumo and Naruto looked at each other before going over to their teammate. Hiruzen looked at several reports that he received daily from patrols. It wasn't anything new to him, as such was the life of a Hokage. He reached for one of the reports and began to read. As he kept reading, he began to get a little worried. He made a signal to his ANBU. One of them appeared and bowed. "I want Aoba Yamashiro and Reito Namishi here now," Hiruzen ordered. The ANBU nodded and was gone. Minutes later, 2 Jonin entered along with that ANBU member. The ANBU disappeared while Aoba and Reito remained kneeling. "Rise. I want you to tell me about this report." He handed the report to Reito, who read it over. "What is it that you did not understand, sir?" Reito asked. "The place you investigated when you were returning. Where was it located?" Hiruzen asked. Aoba went to the map of the fire country and pointed it out. Hiruzen's eyes narrowed. "What did you find?" "We found nothing, sir. All we found were some broken breakers and dead-looking samples. We found nothing out of the ordinary," Oba answered. Hiruzen sighed at that. "Thank you both, you are dismissed," Hiruzen said. "Hi," they said and left via Shunshin, body flicker. Hiruzen looked at the spot that Aoba showed with concern. He knew that area and that cabin. It was a present to one of his students from back in his youth. It was his favorite student and had asked for a place outside of Konoha to do his research. He happily found him a spot and built a cozy cabin for him. This was before he turned rogue and disappointed him. Hiruzen thought there had to be more at that spot. His wayward student would not just leave things alone for no reason. He needed this investigated. He considered sending an ANBU team, but he decided that this would be better if the person knew his former student's ways. It would be a risky decision considering that he did the same to her, but he had no choice. Taking a scroll, he began to write down instructions. Once it was over, he took a stamp and placed it on the scroll. He looked to his left again and the ANBU member appeared. "Summon Anko Mitarashi." Near Training Ground 44, Team 12 was doing a new exercise. They had each learned the tree walking exercise to an acceptable level that Anko was currently showing them how to utilize chakra better. She was teaching them how to stick to the tree from many parts of their body, which was why they were currently doing pull-ups using just their fingers to hold them. Anko watched on as her team did the exercise. "That's it, my little brats. Feel the burn," Anko said. She then took a bottle of lighter fluid and sprayed onto the bonfire she had under them. The fire went a bit higher, making the team do their exercises faster. "Feel the burn," she said calmly. Suddenly, she felt a presence in the air. She turned just as the ANBU member appeared. "Anko Mitarashi, you are too." He began but saw the scene before him. Sighing, he did a few hand seals. "Suetun, Swahachi." He held out his palm and a jet of water shot out, putting out the fire. "Hey!" Anko exclaimed. "The Hokage wants you to report to him now," the ANBU said and disappeared. Anko had a slight frown on her face. She turned back to her genin. "Okay, I'm going to see what the Hokage wants. Continue your exercises while I'm gone," Anko said before she vanished. The team sighed in relief when Anko returned again. "I completely forgot. Kuchios no Jutsu. Summoning technique." The dust cleared to reveal the snake from their final exam. "My here is going to keep you company." She turned to her summon. "If they slack off, you can eat them," she told the snake before leaving again. The snake looked at them and seemed to smile. They all had one thing to say. "You crazy bitch," they all shouted. Anko arrived in the Hokage's office and bowed to him. "I've arrived as ordered, sir. What is it that you wish of me?" Anko asked. "Read this report, Anko," Hiruzen said and handed her the report. Anko took it and kept on reading. When she reached the part that he noticed, he saw the change in her. Do you remember this place? Yes, it was one of many hidden labs he had. It was the first one he took me to, Enko said. Then there is a secret lab at that location. Hiruzen muttered with a sigh. Sir, allow me and a team to go and deal with this place. We will burn it to the ground immediately, Enko said. It has already been arranged, Hiruzen said. But sir, that bastard deserves to pay, Enko shouted. That's enough. It has already been arranged. The reason I called you in is to confirm my suspicions, Hiruzen said. Enko looked ready to explode but quickly composed herself. It is your will, Hokage-sama. If you will excuse me, Enko said. Hiruzen nodded as Enko walked toward the door. Mitarashi, Hiruzen called out. Enko turned just to see a scroll coming to her. She caught it and noticed that it was marked with a C. She looked back at him. I want you to find any information and then destroy the lab. It shall be done, Hokage-sama. Thank you, Hokage-sama, Enko said. Enko, Hiruzen said, catching her attention again. Remember, you are responsible for their lives. Do not go off on your own to settle a score. Enko nodded, bowed and left. Hiruzen sighed and rubbed his forehead. He hoped that this was a good idea. Still, he had faith in Enko that she would protect her team from any danger, including her past. The next day saw Team 12 at the gates. They were ordered by Enko to pack for about 3 to 5 days. They stood and awaited their sensei. They didn't have to wait long as Enko appeared before them. She had a serious look on her face that didn't really match her personality. She explained to them the mission and they began to move out. She moving very fast and the team had a hard time to keep up with her. She looked back at them. What the hell are you doing? Hurry the hell up, Enko shouted. Why don't you slow the hell down? This place is only a few hours away. Jacken mumbled. He suddenly found himself ensnared by snakes. With a jerk, Enko flung him into a tree. He groaned as Enko appeared in front of him. She took him by the throat and held him in place. You got something to say, you say it out loud. When I say to move your ass, you move your ass, Enko shouted. Enko-sensei, stop it, Yakumo called out. Jacken is voicing the opinion of all of us. You're pushing us too hard to get to a place that is only hours away. You're acting weird, Naruto added. Enko turned to glare at her students before letting him go. She took off without them and continued on. Yakumo checked on Jacken as Naruto looked at his sensei's retreating form. What the fuck is her problem? She's been like this since we left the village? Jacken cursed. I know what you mean. She's acting much too differently than we're used to, Yakumo added. What's your take on this pipsqueak? Jacken asked Naruto. She's pretty guarded about something and this mission we're on has made her even more unbearable. Whatever it is, we better keep an eye out for her, Naruto said. We should probably keep an eye out for ourselves if she's acting like this, Jacken said. Don't say that, Yakumo exclaimed. She's our sensei and we have to look out for her as she would for us, Yakumo said as she took off. Naruto shrugged and jumped off as well. Jacken rubbed his throat before doing the same. Enko kept moving in order to get to the location in a hurry. She hoped that her team had turned and gone back to Konoha. She made herself promise to apologize for the way she acted against them. She knew that she was being bitchy, but when it came to that man, she couldn't help it. That man who betrayed her trust and love for him. The same man who left alone to be an outcast among her peers. That man who was one of Konoha's top missing nin. That man's name was Orochimaru. She remembered the first time meeting one of the famous 3 legendary ninja. He came to the academy when her class graduated to choose an apprentice. He gave her one look and smiled. He picked her, which shocked her greatly. She was happy though that she got to train one-on-one to the great genius Orochimaru. It was hard, but she grew stronger and learnt all types of forbidden jutsu. She was also his lab assistant. She a bit uncomfortable about that, but she would do anything for Orochimaru. He continued to train her and they continued to do the experiments. That all changed one day. He abandoned her to the mercy of Konoha while he fled to do more experiments. It was a blow that she barely recovered from. She was an outcast and was not trusted among her fellow ninja. The villagers were also wary of her. She later created her persona to deal with everything and worked harder than most to gain the respect that she had. Despite it all, Orochimaru's abandonment still stung. She would always ask in the back of her mind what she did to be thrown aside like that. She did everything that he wanted without compliant. Why did he abandon her? Why did he not take her with him? Why did he give her this mark? Anko rubbed her shoulder before focusing on reaching the cabin. Hey you crazy bitch! Wait the hell up! A shout caught her attention. She stopped to look back to see her team. They landed in front of her before and took several breaths. Anko looked at them with a neutral expression. Damn, you're fast. Why the hell did you leave without us? Jacken exclaimed. I thought you would have gone back to Konoha, Anko said. And miss out on our first C-rank mission, no way, Naruto exclaimed. I'm with the pipsqueak on this. I'll put up with your PMS if I get to continue this mission, Jacken added. Yakumo just nodded. Anko looked at the three before turning her back to them. Whatever, we'll rest for 20 minutes before we continue on, she said and dropped to the ground. The team followed her and was happy to do it. The land of sound, formerly the land of rice fields, was on the border on the land of fire. They were known for imports of rice and wheat. However, that all changed when one man came into the land and complete took over. He swept into the land under the cover of darkness and was ruler before the sun rose. That same person convinced the daimyo to create his own ninja village. This man and his men would later call this land the land of sound and later form the hidden sound village. A young girl walked through the halls of the underground bunker. She had her hood up to cover her face. A white sash flowed behind her as she made her way toward the throne room to see the leader of this village. Her slender arms had tattoos of a snake. She didn't wear any footwear but carried herself like royalty. She finally reached the main room of the bunker and entered without introducing herself. The people inside tensed up but calmed down when they saw who it was. The girl folded her arms and waited in annoyance. Why have you summoned me here, Orochimaru? She asked, irritated. Watch how you talk to Lord Orochimaru, one person exclaimed. Quiet drone, adults are talking, she said. The person tensed but a hand calmed him down. Orochimaru looked at the girl. It has been so long, Midoshi. At least allow me to see that beautiful face of yours, Orochimaru said. Midoshi did nothing at first but complied and removed her hood. Her green eyes bore into Orochimaru's, who only smiled at her. My word, you have gotten more beautiful. You are 12 now, correct? I grow tired of you. Why was I summoned here? Midoshi asked with an edge. Fine, I have a task for you, Orochimaru said. A task? Do you forget who you are talking to? I am not one of your drones to command, she said. But this requires you expert skills, Midoshi. I would be forever grateful if you did me this favor, he said. Midoshi just scoffed before looking at the former Sannin. Orochimaru got off his throne and walked up to her. He handed her a scroll which she opened. She read over what was on the scroll. I do this and I never get to see your face again, Midoshi said. You wound me, child. I'm doing such a good job taking care of you. Your godfather must be pleased, Orochimaru said. My godfather hates you as much as I do. The only reason you're kissing my ass is because you don't wish to lose the snake contract. I'm not as stupid as your drones, she said. She threw the scroll to the floor and left using a shunshin. Orochimaru looked at the scroll and frowned. One of his personal guards walked up to him. My lord, why do you put up with her? He asked. She has a great purpose that will never die. Should we anger her, she may turn on us and destroy our plans. For now, I will allow her disrespect, Orochimaru explained. The ninja bowed at his master and dropped the subject. Team 12 was moving at a slower pace than before. Anko was still in her mood, but she was at least taking it easier on them. It would be 3 hours of travel before they reached the cabin that Anko told them about. They moved carefully to the cabin and readied themselves to enter. Anko gave Jacken a nod and he kicked the door open. They all entered the cabin, kunais ready to be thrown. They all searched the place for enemies. All clear, shouted Jacken. Clear here as well, shouted Yakumo. Clear, Naruto shouted. All clear, gather up, Anko ordered. The team met around her and she led them toward a room. Anko looked around the room before she found the switch. She pulled it and a secret door opened up. The team looked down the stairs. Anko turned to her team. From now on, be on full alert. We don't know what to expect. Into the belly of the beast, Naruto said. And out of the demon's ass, Jacken finished. With Anko at the head, Team 12 descended down into the unknown. The walk down the flight of stairs was a long and dark one. Anko advised her team to stay sharp and to prepare for anything. The team was careful not to trip any traps on their long way down. They began to ask more questions about this place, but Anko kept her mouth shut. Put them off a bit, but they continued to follow her down. Anko sighed a bit and did feel bad about how she was treating her team. Still, this was her problem and she didn't feel that it was right to bring them into it. That man was hers to kill and no one else. They finally reached the bottom of the stairs and were now looking down a dark and long corridor. They were still on high alert and wary of traps. Surprisingly, it didn't take long for them to reach a dark room. Son of a bitch, I can't see a damn thing. Jacken cursed. Me neither. Is there a light switch around here? Naruto asked. Hang on. I know where it is, Anko said and left the team. She reached the wall and felt where she remembered where it was. She found it and flicked it on. What the team saw would forever haunt them. What the? Naruto said in shock. Oh my god, Yakumo whispered. This is, I can't believe this. Jacken spoke in amazement. Surrounding them were tanks filled with unknown creatures. These didn't look like regular animals at all. Some of them looked to be passing their expiration. Yakumo couldn't take it anymore and found a spot to throw up. Naruto and Jacken held it in some, but they looked ready to follow Yakumo's example. When Yakumo could speak again, she turned toward her sensei. Is this some type of sick joke? What the hell is this place? She shouted. I didn't ask you three to come with me. You should have headed back to the village, Anko said calmly. Okay. I've had enough of you. Your bitchy attitude is finally run its course. You tell us what the hell this place is and tell us now, Jacken shouted. Anko glared at him. Who do you think you're talking to, boy? We're talking to an irresponsible jonin who needs to grow up, Naruto added. How the hell are we to complete this mission when you completely shut us out? I don't really care what your problem is, but you're putting us at risk. Anko looked on as all the members of her team glared at her in defiance. She scoffed at them, but she would give them what they wanted. We are currently in one of the labs that was constructed by Orochimaru. What you see around you is result of his experiments, Anko said with an even tone. Orochimaru, the Sannin Orochimaru? The second most dangerous missing nin ever from Konoha. He did this, Jacken exclaimed. Yes, and our mission is to gather information about what he was doing here, Anko said. You could have told us that is what we were doing here. Why did you keep this from us? Naruto demanded. That's none of your business, Anko snapped. She took a breath and looked at her team. Now that you know what the mission is, let's get to work, she said and walked off. The team looked at her retreating back with scowls. This is going to be one of those days, Jacken said with a sigh. I can't believe that she didn't tell us about this. What is her problem? Yakumo asked. It's much deeper than she's letting on, Naruto said. I agree with you there, Pipsqueak. It's like she has a grudge against Orochimaru, Jacken added. Who doesn't have a grudge with him? Old Man Hokage was his teacher, and every time he speaks of his students, he talks of him as being his one greatest regrets. Naruto explained. So what are we going to do? I hate to say it, but we have to look out for ourselves until we get out of here, Yakumo said. I'm with her. We can't rely on Anko at all, Jacken said. Agreed, Naruto said and placed his fingers in a cross. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 2 copies of Naruto appeared. I'll hang with Anko-sensei and you guys go with my clones. We should use our headsets to keep in touch. The other 2 nodded and pulled out their headsets. They set the channel that they were going to be on and tested them. They wished each other luck as they went their separate way. Unknown to them, a pair of eerie yellow eyes watched them. She had a small smile on her face as she listened in on their conversation. A large python slithered across her shoulders and she lovingly petted it. Well, this has turned out quite interesting. Let's have some fun with them. Anko was searching one of the rooms when she felt someone approached. Naruto entered the room and her eyes narrowed a bit. Naruto didn't look fazed by it. So what happened? You drew the short straw and have to deal with me? Anko mocked. Say what you want. Let's just find something and get out of here, Naruto said rudely. Anko didn't look insulted and continued her search for something important. The 2 of them continued their search in complete silence. After minutes of not talking, Anko got bored. She looked to her student. So, you've been acting all high and mighty during these few hours. You think just because the Hokage trained you that you can talk to people how you want to? She asked. No, I only talk to people like that when they are being stupid or ignorant. You should have informed us of the mission. In fact, I think the old man was wrong in giving you this mission in the first place. Naruto answered. Oh really? I didn't hear any objections when you guys continue along with me. Wasn't it you who didn't want to miss out on your first C-rank mission? Anko asked mockingly. Yeah, I admit that, but you've acting like we don't matter, and it has something to do with your problem with Orochimaru. Naruto argued. Like I told you before, it's none of your business. Anko growled. You made it our business when this mission began. How do you expect us to become a team when you go off on your own like that? How are we to trust you when you won't trust us? Naruto shouted. Anko took a step back as Naruto yelled at her. She was shocked that he was talking to her like a child. Naruto scoffed and placed 2 fingers to his neck. Hey you guys, you got anything for me? What's your status? Jacken heard Naruto's voice over the radio and placed his fingers to his neck. All's quiet over on this end. Nothing to report, Jacken said. He looked at the room he was in. The place reeked of old blood and chemicals. He guessed that Orochimaru did his most gruesome experiments in this room. He could still see the dry blood on the ground and walls. This guy was one sick customer. That's something we agree on, Clone Naruto said in agreement. Did the Hokage tell you anything about this guy Pipsqueak? Jacken asked. Nope, he was pretty tight-lipped about him. All I really know was that he was considered a genius in ninjutsu and that he wished to know every jutsu known in the world. That's crazy and impossible. He would grow old and feeble. Besides, there is always a new jutsu coming out. He would have to be immortal if he ever wanted to do such a thing. Clone Naruto was about to answer him when they both hear something. It sounded like rattling. Jacken looked at the clone. I'm not hearing things, am I? Jacken asked. Only if I'm not hearing the same thing, he answered. I was afraid of that. The two turned and were faced with a large and mean-looking rattlesnake. It bore its fangs at the two and was coiled. Jacken placed his fingers to his neck. We've got a problem, Jacken reported. The snake lunged at them. At the same time Yakumo was searching the computer for information. That's when she got Naruto's call. I found nothing so far. It seems like the computer was wiped clean, Yakumo reported. She continued to search through the computer just in case there may be something in the hard drive. She suddenly came across something that looked interesting. She saw the file name. Project Yugo. I wonder what that is? She was about to get on her radio when Naruto's clone pulled her away from the computer. He did it just in time as something crashed into the console. When they got their bearings, they were very surprised to see a large cobra looking at them. They clearly saw the serpent's intentions as it launched itself at them. Naruto heard Yakumo scream over the radio and got worried. Hey guys, what the hell is going on? Naruto shouted. Anko was curious as well and moved closer to listen. Jacken was the first to answer. I can't talk right now. I'm trying to avoid becoming dinner for a rattlesnake. Check back later. Jacken sarcastically replied. Someone else is here and they have sent some very large snakes after us, Yakumo reported. Anko eyes widened in shock and ripped the headset off Naruto. Yakumo, Jacken, report your positions now, Anko ordered. I believe that you have to be more concerned about yourself. The two turned to the voice and Anko was even more shocked at who she saw. Her eyes blazed with rage. You! Hello my dear Anko. Did you miss your dear old sensei? Orochimaru asked. Anko roared and charged at him. The man just smiled and took off. Anko was hot on his heels. Naruto put back on his radio and relayed back to his team. Send your positions to me. I'll send more clones to back you up, Naruto said as he ran out after Anko. He had to jump back as huge boa nearly ate him up. He watched as the snake blocked his path and growled. He touched his neck. Looks like we're all in trouble. We have to beat these things and help Anko-sensei. The boa charged at Naruto, who prepared himself for a fight. Anko ran after Orochimaru with urgency. She chucked kunai after kunai at him, but the slippery man dodged them all. Finally having enough, Anko thrust her hand forward. Sanaijishu, she shouted. For snakes shot out of herself and launched toward Orochimaru. The man saw this and used his chakra to push himself forward. He jumped and twisted in midair to avoid the attack. He descended to the ground of a large stadium. As he landed, he was about to take off when he was stopped by several kunais. Orochimaru turned to face Anko, who had jumped down to confront him. "I've been waiting for this day. Now it's time to end you," Anko said and got into a stance. Suddenly Orochimaru began to laugh at Anko, but what confused her was that this voice was female. He looked at her with a smile. "Sorry dear," the female voice said. Anko watched as the facade of Orochimaru faded and was replaced by a girl no older than 11. "You're going to have to wait a bit longer for your revenge." "Who the hell are you?" Anko demanded. "The name is Midoshi. You can call me an acquaintance of that pale-skinned freak master of yours," Midoshi answered. "So he's not here?" "Nope, it's just me. I was beginning to think that this trip would be a bore, but it turned out very interesting. It wasn't hard to get you away from your team, which surprises me. I thought Konoha valued teamwork and all that." Anko cursed at the fact that she was easily led on. She needed to get to the brats before those snakes ended their lives. Midoshi noticed where her mind was and put a stop to it. With a shout, she blew the entrance up on both sides of the crater. Anko watched as the entrances were blocked. Now, I went through all that trouble to separate you from them," Midoshi said sweetly. Anko growled at her. "What the hell do you want from me?" Anko spat. "Just a little spar." Orochimaru spoke very highly of your skills. "If you impress me enough, I may let you continue to summon my." Anko was shocked at that revelation. "Are you ready yet? I do get terribly bored." "You picked the wrong day to fuck with me, girly. Get ready to die," Anko said and charged at the young woman. Midoshi just smiled. Jacken dodged another lunge of the rattlesnake. He countered by throwing several shuriken at its exposed side. They didn't seem to faze it as the serpent attempted to crush him with its rattle tail. Jacken rolled out of the way and started to launch more shuriken. The rattlesnake's head was his target and he distracted it with his very good aim. Clone Naruto struck from above and stabbed the snake in the neck. It roared and drove its head toward the wall to dislodge the clone. The clone jumped as the rattlesnake crashed into the wall. The clone and Jacken stood together as the rattlesnake shook the cobwebs out. "All right, this has gone on long enough. It's time to get serious," Jacken said, and he reached into his backpack. He pulled out a weapon and prepared himself to fight. The clone looked at the weapon and saw that he was holding a Kuzurigama. The blade of the sickle was a bit longer than a regular Kuzurigama, and it was curved to look like a hook. The ball end of the weapon had spikes surrounding it. Jacken began to spin the chain with the ball attachment and moved slowly to his left. The rattlesnake followed his movement and readied itself to strike. It made its move and rocketed toward Jacken. Jacken jumped back and landed on the wall. Using his chakra, he pushed himself off the wall and jumped toward the ceiling at an amazing speed. The snake missed him by inches and slammed into the wall. He wasted no movement and launched his weapon at the rattlesnake. The chain was long enough and it wrapped around the snake's neck, the spiked ball digging into its skin. Jacken pulled himself forward and landed on the snake. He then proceeded to stab the snake repeatedly. The rattlesnake frantically tried to get him off. Jacken continued his assault of the snake, gripping the chain so that he wouldn't fall off. The snake was angry and used its rattle tail to attack. Jacken barely saw it coming and had to stop hacking to avoid it. The snake then began to move its head. The movement of its head loosened the chain. With a final lift, the chain was loose enough for escape. Caught the chain in its mouth and flung Jacken toward the wall. Jacken hit the wall hard and slid to the ground with a groan. Seeing the offender in his sights, the snake made a lunge. "Jacken, close your eyes," the clone shouted. Jacken did as he was told, and the clone threw several paper balls at the incoming snake. When it was close enough, the balls exploded and consumed the room in a black powder. Naruto, who had on goggles, picked up Jacken and made his way out of the room. The snake was slamming itself against the walls and howled in pain. "Can I open my eyes now?" Jacken asked. "Yeah, we're out of the room," Clone Naruto said. Jacken opened his eyes and began to fall in step with the clone. "What the hell did you do, Pipsqueak?" he asked. "Homemade pepper bombs. I never leave home without them. They are way stronger than any regular one," the clone explained. Jacken nodded and the two continued to run. Their run was cut short when the rattlesnake slammed into the both of them, sending them flying across the hall and into a room. Jacken landed on a table that was filled with beakers. The glass scraped him up, but not too badly. When he and the clone looked up, they saw that the snake was not happy. It hissed and opened its mouth wide. The clone kicked Jacken away as the rattlesnake descended. Jacken rolled for a bit and saw that the snake had the clone in its jaw. He growled at the snake as its jaw closed. Now he was alone and the snake would turn its attention to him. What I wouldn't give for a Katan Jutsu right now. What the hell is that smell? He wondered. He realized that it was him. He took a look of his surroundings and saw that the room was filled with beakers. All of them had a liquid in them. Could they be chemicals? An idea came to Jacken. He began to twirl his kuzurigama at different angles. It moved in a way that the rattlesnake had trouble getting to him. It hissed when the weapon cut its skin if it got close. Jacken's weapon was also breaking the beakers around the room. The chemicals began to fall on the ground and pooled together. Jacken saw smoke forming as more chemicals merged together. He suddenly realized that he might be caught his plan. That's when he caught sight of an empty oil drum. Stopping what he was doing, he made a dash for the drum. He threw it over himself as the rattlesnake made its way toward him. That's when a spark came out of mixed chemicals. The explosion was loud and shook the ground. Jacken just kept himself in a ball until he thought it was over. After a while, Jacken didn't hear anything. He used his weapon to cut the barrel open. He used his back and feet to push the barrel apart. He surveyed the damage and was amazed at the destruction. He made a note never to do that again. He reached for the radio when he realized that it was busted. Ignoring his cuts, Jacken took off in search of his teammates. Yakumo threw some more shurikens at the cobra, but they did little to bother the snake. She was beginning to get tired as she was not as physically strong as her teammates. While not frail, she couldn't do long battles. She had already lost the clone Naruto sent with her and now she was playing hide, seek and dodge with the large cobra. She did have one chance against the beast, however she was scared. Her fear was that she had not used her sealed powers since the fire those years ago. As Jiraiya told her, her seal would allow her to use her Kekkai Genkai without losing control. He also told her that she would have to train her mind constantly. Her uncle had her doing some mental exercises along with a Yamanaka as added insurance. They did help, yet she was still scared of what might happen if it got out of control. She shook her head and banished such thoughts. Her teammates needed her help. She needed to distract the cobra. Taju Bunshin no Jutsu, Yakumo said. The cobra heard her and made a move to get her when copies of her jumped out and ran around the room. The cobra was confused and was randomly attacking her clones. The clones took a page out of Jacken's book and began to sling insults at the cobra. Yakumo, the real one, began to focus her power. She could feel it coursing through her. She opened her eyes that were now glowing red. She quickly did hand seals and called out her attack. Megan! Jigakukoka no Jutsu! Yakumo shouted. The room got dark and the cobra found itself alone. It began to feel heat and turned to see a huge fireball descending on it. Crashed into it, burning it to a crisp. The cobra hissed as it got burnt. It fell to the ground on fire. It wiggled for a while before it stopped and fell dead. The light came back and Yakumo was on her knees. She was very tired and weak right now. She reached for her pouch and pulled out a soldier pill. She popped it in her mouth and waited a few seconds for her chakra to return. Holy hell! What the hell happened here? A voice shouted. Jacken, is that you? Yakumo shouted. Jacken appeared in front of her and she sighed in relief. Did you do this? I didn't know you knew Ketan Jutsus, he said. I don't. That was the work of my Kekkai Genkai. I had to use it to win, Yakumo explained. Jacken looked back to see the cobra that was burned badly on one side. Remind me never to piss you off to use that power, Jacken joked. Yakumo smiled and stood up. Come on, let's find the pipsqueak. Yakumo nodded and the two ran out of the room. Naruto was not having a good time with this boa. He was trying to come up with a plan to get rid of the summons. He had his clones attack it with little success. He needed to take the snake out and fast. He had heard an explosion and was worried about his teammates. Suddenly, he remembered that he had a summons of his own. He bit into his thumb and smeared the blood on his forearm where the monkey tattoo was. He slammed his hand on the ground. Kuchios no Jutsu, Sora, Naruto shouted. From out of the smoke, a damp-looking monkey appeared. The monkey was surprised when he caught sight of the person who called him. You again, what do you want? I was relaxing, Sora said. Sorry, but I need your help," Naruto said and pointed to the boa who just batted away 2 more clones. Sora turned back to Naruto. "No way, see you later," Sora said, uninterested. "What? You're just going to leave?" Naruto shouted. "Look, I'm not cut out for this fighting stuff. I just want to soak in some hot water. I'll see you later," Sora said. Naruto was beside himself, but he took a couple of deep breaths before coming up with a plan. Suddenly, one came to mind. "How about this? You help me now and I promise to get you into the old man's private hot spring," Naruto said. Sora stopped himself and thought about. He did remember that spring as he was actually summoned by Sarutobi near it. That was a really good soak. "Okay then, but I'll hold you to that. In fact, let's make that a condition when you summon me," Sora said. "Fine, it's a deal," Naruto said. Sora nodded and jumped into the air. He transformed into a Naginata. Naruto smirked as he was trained with such a weapon. He caught Sora and gave him a few spins. After he got used to him, Naruto took up a stance. He launched himself at the boa. The boa didn't see him coming and was stabbed in the eye. The snake hissed in pain and flailed around. Naruto dislodged the weapon from his eye and jumped to the ceiling. He used his chakra to push off and drove the Naginata into its head. The snake lurched forward and hit the ground with a thud. Naruto fell to a knee as boa was no longer moving. He pulled out Sora and held him in his hand. He didn't have time to savor the victory as he wanted to find his teammates. He ran out of the room in search of them. He didn't get 2 steps out the door when he ran into them. "Naruto, you're all right?" Yakumo said in relief. "I knew that you wouldn't die, Pipsqueak," Jacken said. "Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are all right too. We need to find Anko and get the hell out here. This mission is kind of a bust," Naruto said. They nodded at the idea and ran off to find Anko. The sound of steel rang through the room as Anko and Midoshi made another pass at each other. Midoshi looked barely winded as Anko was breathing quite hard. Midoshi smirked at her. "Well, I do admit that you are good, but I would expect better from one of Orochimaru's students," Midoshi crowed. "I am so going to show you your guts," Anko growled. "So you say, but I'm barely winded while you're sucking up wind. I just don't see that happening," Midoshi said with a smirk. Anko snarled at her and thrust her hand out. "Sanaijishu," Anko shouted. For Black Mambas made its way to Midoshi. "Please," Midoshi said and held her hand out as well. Sanaijishu. The tattoo on her arm transformed into a huge python and ate the Mambas in one bite. "Surely you have something much better than that. I'm starting to get bored here." Anko growled and threw several shurikens at her. Midoshi dodged the projectiles and dodged Anko's kick. She continued to dodge the taijutsu assault with relative ease. Anko just couldn't get a hit on her. She was suddenly swept off her feet by the veil on Midoshi's waist. Anko fell on her back but was quick to roll to her side as the veil stabbed the ground next to her. Kept on stabbing until Anko was out of range. Anko rolled to her feet and glared at her opponent who was yawning. She needed to wipe that condescending smirk off her face. She calmed herself and started to form a plan. She took out a smoke bomb and threw it to the ground. Midoshi smirked as 2 clones came out of the smoke, charging at her. They attacked her, which Midoshi easily defended. Suddenly an arm shot out of the ground with a kunai aimed at her. "Not bad. She's make this more interesting," Midoshi thought. She bent back to avoid the stab and kicked the kunai out of her hand. She flipped back to her feet and kicked the feet from under the one of the clones. She then kicked the other clone 3 times and dispelled it with a vicious spinning hook kick. She then used her veil to stab the other clone in the stomach, dispelling it. For snakes appeared and caught her, forcing her to the ground. Fire shot out from underground and crashed into the trapped Midoshi. Anko popped out of the ground and was looking at the burning corpse. She was still alert as she neared the body. What she saw was discarded skin. Anko suddenly felt something cut into her side. She cried and jumped back to see Midoshi cloth. Midoshi jumped out of the ground and charged at Anko. Anko's injury slowed her down as Midoshi used taijutsu to attack. Anko defended as best as she could, but Midoshi proved to be faster than your average 12-year-old. The wound to her side was not helping her. Midoshi took advantage and kicked her where the wound was. Anko hit the ground in pain. Midoshi looked at her with disappointment. "I was expected a bit more out of you, but I guess that's that. I've grown bored of you and I have a job to do," Midoshi said. Her veil prepared to strike her when an explosion caught her attention. From out the smoke, a ball with spikes came at her. She moved to get out of the way. As she landed, a blonde with a naginata appeared and attacked her. She was very surprised by the skill and speed at which he was wielding the weapon. Jacken kept Naruto covered while Yakumo got Anko out of the way. Midoshi ducked under Naruto's swing and attempted to kick him. Naruto blocked her kick with the weapon but saw the veil around her waist come at him. Jacken countered with his Kusarigama and pulled her veil, causing her to be off balance. Naruto stabbed the blade into the veil and kicked Midoshi 2 times. He swung around the weapon and planted 2 feet into her chest, sending her flying. Midoshi stood to face her attackers. Naruto held his naginata out while Jacken spun the spike ball above his head. Jacken was the first to attack, throwing the ball at her. She dodged it and charged. Naruto met her charge and the two were engaged in another round. Jacken joined in the fray. Midoshi was having trouble fighting the two of them as they were in sync with each other. "Guys, I'm ready. You need to get back here," Yakumo shouted. Naruto and Jacken disengaged and made their way toward Yakumo and Anko. Midoshi wasn't about to allow that to happen and readied to summon another serpent. Suddenly, she found herself unable to move. She struggled against this invisible force when the ground under her collapsed. She looked down to see a huge lave pool and it looked ready to erupt. Midoshi smirked as she realized that this was a genjutsu set up by the girl. She released a bit of chakra to dispel it, but she found that she couldn't. She used a bit more of her chakra to break out of it, but she couldn't. That's when the pool of lava erupted. Midoshi's eyes went wide as the lava consumed her. The team looked on as Yakumo focused her chakra through her drawing. Yakumo suddenly pitched forward, but she was caught by Jacken. He placed her on his back and secured her. Naruto used his clones to carry Anko and together then left. Unknown to them, Midoshi was on the other side of the room as she watched the image disappear. She summoned a large group of snakes to surround her. One of them caused enough pain to get her loose. She escaped just as the lava consumed her. She took several breaths to calm herself. She looked to see that the snakes she used were dead and burnt to a crisp. A genjutsu that causes actual damage. Something like that exists within Konoha? She thought. Midoshi decided not to pursue them. She had done her task and she was now heading back to the base. In her mind, she was curious about this team of Ankos. It was now night and Team Anko took time to rest. Naruto set up traps while Yakumo tended Anko. Jacken, who was already taken care of, was cooking up the remaining rations that survived the mission. The group was deathly quiet. Even as Yakumo tended to Anko, she said nothing to her. Naruto came back and told his team that the traps are set. Anko saw that he was only directing that to his teammates and not her. When dinner was done, her team took some of it and sat at the other side of the camp. Anko sighed at this but did nothing against it. She deserved this for her actions against the team. She was warned by the Sandaime not to allow her feelings to get in the way, but it did. She left her team to fight alone because she saw who she believed to be Orochimaru. She treated them lower than dirt when this mission began. She was only trying to protect them, but she alienated them instead. Anko ate alone again and it hurt. Hiruzen was always a perceptive shinobi. He developed it as he got older and passed it along to his students. It was a skill he passed along to Naruto as well. That's why he was not surprised by what was being reported to him by Anko. As he listened to her report, he observed her team. He could see the displeasure in their faces of being near Anko. It seems that his warning to her had gone unheard. Anko finished her report and he straightened himself up. "Very well then, I can't call this mission a success as we gained nothing from this. I will, however, look into this Midoshi child. If she is this skilled, then she may be a problem in the future," Hiruzen said. He looked at Anko's genins. "You 3 may leave now and consider yourselves on leave for a week." "Thank you, Hokage-sama," they said and left his office quickly. He noticed that they didn't even spare Anko a glance as they left. Hiruzen saw that she took it all without compliant. He looked at her for a while before lighting the tobacco in his pipe. He blew out some smoke and sighed. "It was my mistake to trust you with this mission. I thought that you would put the needs of their lives ahead of your pain. What do you have to say for yourself, Mitarashi?" he asked seriously. "I have no excuse, sir. I did put myself ahead of the squad and they were almost killed because of my past. For my actions, I am ready to face my punishment," Anko said. "Oh, and what should your punishment be?" he asked. I will immediately resign as a shinobi of Konoha. I do not deserve such an honor after my actions, she said. Hiruzen looked at her before taking another puff. Your request is denied. But sir, you're just running away for this issue and I refuse to allow that. You created this mess with your team and you will fix it. They have the potential to be great and you have the potential to be a great leader. I will not allow you to run away from this, Hiruzen explained. Anko sighed and looked down at her feet. They do not trust me nor do they respect me. I don't think I can plead my case to them, Anko said sadly. Then consider this a challenge as you have in the past. I remember a young woman who didn't let the words of some idiot stop her from becoming the most feared kunoichi in Konoha, Hiruzen said with a smile. Anko blushed at the praise. Hiruzen walked up to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. You are not your sensei and he made a mistake in throwing away your devotion for him. It will be a mistake that he will come to regret, I assure you. You have the chance to do what he could not. They will need you, don't abandon them. Anko nodded and left the office. It was a rare sight that Ibiki Marino walked in on. He was at a local bar that he took his people when the day was over. At the bar, his number one wasn't drinking. He saw the bottle of sake and he saw that she had some in a cup but she wasn't drinking. He decided to see what was up with his number one. This is a rare sight indeed. Mitarashi Anko, not shit-faced and dancing. Ibiki joked. He looked to the bartender and put up 2 fingers. He turned his attention back to her. It was a joke, Mitarashi. I'm not in the mood for jokes or drinking right now, Scarface, Anko said. Yep, it's you all right. I was getting worried that we had a spy in the place. He saw. The bartender returned and placed 2 small sake bottles in front of him. He thanked the bartender and turned his attention back to her. I heard about your mission. You really screwed up. I know, all right. I don't need you riding my ass about it, Anko snapped. I am your superior, so I have an opinion and my opinion is that you screwed up. Don't forget, Anko. I'm one of the few who isn't scared of you. Anko scoffed and returned to looking at her drink. Ibiki took a sip of his sake before he spoke again. So what are you going to do? I don't know. They hate me and they have a right to. My actions could have gotten them killed. Can I offer you some advice? Ibiki asked. Anko made a motion for him to continue. Move on and put it in the past. You have an opportunity to train 3 ninja who probably will be great in the near future. Orochimaru will still be around for you to get your answers, but for now you have to live in the present. Our past is our past. We learn from it and move on, Ibiki said. Anko looked at him with surprise. That was deep. You must really be sick to your stomach at this moment, Anko joked. I do need to take a shower, yes, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong, Ibiki said. Anko chuckled and looked at her drink. Live in the present, huh? She muttered. She gulped down the cup of sake. She slammed the cup down and let out a loud cheer. A round of sake on Ibiki. Hey! Ibiki shouted as the crowd cheered. The next day found Naruto eating his breakfast. He was eating his ramen and had a small carton of milk next to him. Ramen and milk? You have some weird taste, kid, a voice said. Naruto turned to see Anko at his window. What do you want? Naruto asked rudely. Meet me at Area 44 in 20 minutes. Don't argue with me and just do it, Anko ordered before disappearing. Naruto looked at the window before he sighed. He forgot about breakfast and went to get ready. Yakumo was feeding birds when she saw Anko standing outside her compound gates. She was curious and made her way to the front. Anko waited patiently as Yakumo approached. The 2 guards were glaring at her when they saw the heiress arrive. Mitarashi-san, what is it I can do for you? She asked. I need you to report to Training Ground 44 in 20 minutes, Anko said. But the Sandaime gave us the week off, Yakumo said with an edge. Yes, but we need to talk. If I have to kidnap you, I will, Anko threatened. That did not go over well with the guards who reached for their tantos. Yakumo looked at Anko, who had a serious expression on her face. As you wish, I will be there, Yakumo said. Thank you, Anko said and left the area. Yakumo made her way to the house as the guards tried to reason with her. Jacken stepped out of his apartment to do some shopping when Anko appeared in front of him. The 2 glared at each other before Jacken relented and sighed. Can I help you? He asked harshly. Area 44, 20 minutes. Be there, Enko said. And what if I refuse? Jacken asked. You don't want to know, she said and disappeared using a shunshin. Jacken decided to be on the safe side and agree to the psycho's request. Naruto entered the area in his civilian clothes. He noticed that Jacken and Yakumo were there as well, also in their civilian clothes. As he walked, he felt that they were being watched. It wasn't Enko, but it seemed to be several of them that were surrounding the area. He walked up to his teammates and stood by them. You too, huh? He asked. Yep. Got a clue on what this is about? Jacken asked. Nope. Do you, Yakumo? Naruto asked her. Not the slightest. Yakumo began when Enko appeared. Good you came. I figured that I would have to do this the hard way, Enko said. She was greeted with silence. She sighed and steadied herself. Fine, you don't have to talk to me because all the talking will be done by me. First off, let me say this. I'm sorry. Those words caused everyone in the area to look at Enko in surprise. Jacken was the first to speak. Pinch me. I think I'm dreaming or under a genjutsu, he said. Yakumo did just that, caused Jacken to yelp in surprise. You said to pinch you, Yakumo said. I was freaking kidding, Jacken exclaimed. Enko chuckled at them and began to speak again. My action on the mission were unacceptable even if I had reason to act that way, she said. What do you mean? Naruto asked. When I graduated from the academy, I wasn't placed on a team like you three. I became the apprentice to one of the Sannin. That Sannin was Orochimaru, she explained. She looked to see if she had their attention still and was happy that she did. All I know is that he saw great potential in me and wanted to further my skills. He taught a lot of forbidden jutsu and I helped him with some of his experiments. I just want him to please him any way I could. You can even say that I loved him a little bit. She got this sad look on her face. What happened? Asked Yakumo. I became one of his experiments, Enko said. She removed her coat and turned around. She motioned them forward and pulled her mesh suit down around her shoulder. The team saw a tattoo. That is called the Ten no Juin. It is a seal that gives the user incredible power but at the cost of your freedom. I and 9 others were given this seal. I was the only one to survive. After that, he abandoned me and left me to the mercy of Konoha. Enko pulled back up the mesh and picked up her coat. She put it back on and faced her team again. I'm not telling you this so you would feel sorry for me. I'm not telling you so you would understand. I'm telling you because you deserve to know why what happened, Enko said. The team knew that Enko was putting herself out there and they did understand a little about her actions. Still, there was the trust that she lost from that mission. Enko saw this and smiled. So, now that you know, you have a choice. Choice? They asked. Yes, this has made me realize how much I still have to go to be an instructor. I do believe that you all have potential and I do feel that we can all bring out that in each other. However, there is the lack of trust we have. So, by the end of the week, I will return here at 8. If you still wish for me to lead, then be here and we can continue. If you feel that I can't be trusted, then I will switch with someone you can trust. The team looked at each other before looking at her. Well, brats, I'll see ya in a week or I'll see around, Enko said and was gone via Shunshin. The sun brought in a new day in Konoha. It awoke Enko, who sat up and yawned. She stretched her muscles out and scratched her head. She looked to her calendar and her mood dropped a bit. Today was the day that her fate would be decided. She looked to see that it was now 7:30 and she had 30 minutes to reach the training ground. She didn't want to get up, but she knew that she was being selfish if she did. Truth was, she enjoying teaching a little. They chanced to mold 3 little brats into a likeness of her made her giddy. Still, she knew that they didn't trust her. Well, no use stalling. Let's get this over with, Enko thought. She made her way to Area 44. When she arrived, she was very surprised to see her team waiting for her. She walked up to them as they stood at attention. This is a surprise, Enko spoke. Well, I know how it feels to have secrets that you don't want to tell, Naruto said. I know what it is to be left alone when someone you think cares, Yakumo said. I believe in second chances, Jacken said. So you really want me as your sensei? I can't promise that something like this won't happen again, Enko said. Yeah, but like you said, we can learn from one another. While you teach us, we can teach you or make you forget or something, Naruto said. You think that you can teach me something? Enko said with humor. Anko looked at them with a smirk. Fine, you had your chance to escape, but now your asses belong to me. I'm going to train you little bastards in a supreme fighting force that can do anything and kill anything. This, my little prisoners, is the start of something new. Are you with me? Hi, Sensei, the team shouted. All right then, Anko shouted and slammed her hands onto the ground. The smoke cleared and a familiar reptile came into view. Mai hissed at the team and looked like she had a smirk on her face. The team took off as they didn't want to get caught. Anko jumped on Mai's head and the snake charged at them. The team continued to run as the insane laughter of Anko rang throughout the training ground. Midoshi twirled a kunai as she laid lazily in her room. Her mind wasn't on the various serpents that roamed around her room. It was on that team she encountered. While Anko was not impressive, her genin were. It was the only reason why she didn't remove her from the snake contract. A girl that could make genjutsu into reality was very interesting. She wondered if the other two were just as interesting as her. She decided to keep an ear out about this team. She figured that it might be fun down the road. What's your ETA? Ghost? Anko's voice came over the radio. I'll be set in 2 minutes, Yakumo replied. Make it sooner. Bangs? Knuckles? Get ready to move, Anko said. What were you smoking when you came up with these names? Ghost is the only good code name, Jacken asked harshly. At least you got the cooler name, Bangs, Naruto said. What the hell are you talking about? I'm Knuckles, you're Bangs, Jacken argued. Anko listened in as the two continued to argue. Hey, shut the hell up and get ready, Anko said through the radio. I'm ready, Sensei, Yakumo said. All right, commence operation, Anko said. Anko pulled out a telescope and looked in the direction of the T&I department. She watched as Yakumo casted her genjutsu over the building. Everyone was wondering what was going on. Anko heard her radio buzz. Go Bangs. Told you so, Jacken cheered. We're set and primed. We're making our exit, Naruto said. All right, Ghost, we packing up, Anko said. Roger that, Yakumo said. The genjutsu ended, leaving many to wonder what the hell was going on. After a while and finding nothing wrong, everything went back to normal. Ibiki entered his office to get some work done. He closed his door to get some privy. Seconds later, there was an explosion that alerted the guards. They rushed to his office and busted down the door. What they saw surprised them greatly. Covered from head to toe with orange dye was Ibiki. His office was a mess as well. Ibiki wiped some dye away from his face. No one dared laugh even though it was the funniest sight they ever witnessed. Ibiki knew that only one person could have set this up. I will remember this, Anko. Be sure that I will remember this. Your team will feel the sting of my revenge as well, Ibiki hissed. On the other side of the village, a chill went up Team Anko's backs. Naruto looked at their sensei. Why do I feel that you've just sent us to an early grave? He asked. Don't worry about it. The worst that will happen is that I won't get any great interrogations for a month, Anko said. I meant us, Naruto added. Oh, you guys are screwed. I mean, you did very well with this little mock assassination, but Ibiki will find you and mess you up. He'll probably let you stew for a year before he strikes, Anko said like it was nothing important. Her team looked at her with hate. The next day, the team was attempting to get back at their sensei for yesterday's little stunt. Anko held back and was smiling as she dodged kunais, staff strikes, and Kurosagama attacks. They were really trying to lay her out today. I'll admit you guys are really making me work today, Anko said in amusement. Naruto growled and increased his speed. Anko had to push herself a bit more as Naruto's thrust his staff at a rapid pace. She definitely didn't want to get bruised up. She was surprised when Naruto stopped his attack and jumped back. She was ensnared by vines that secured her to a tree. Jacken and Naruto were quickly doing seals. When they were finished, they unleashed their attacks. Futon, de Tapa, wind release, great breakthrough, Naruto shouted. Katan Karyuden, fire release, fire dragon missile, Jacken shouted. Fire and wind mixed together creating a huge ball of fire. Anko whistled as the attack consumed her. It also took out the tree and the 3 trees behind it. The two stopped their attack and waited for Anko to attack. You think she's dead? Jacken asked, holding his weapon at the ready. No way, she's the devil. That fire probably was absorbed by her. fire-breathing witch. Naruto said. What a horrible thing to say, Anko said. The two turned to see Anko without her coat and she was sitting on her pet snake. Mai attacked them, but she was suddenly overwhelmed by countless clones. Anko noticed that this was not the work of Naruto, as the clones seemed to reform after being destroyed. This must be the work of Yakumo. They have greatly improved, but I think it's time to end this little game, Anko thought. She disappeared as Naruto and Jacken, along with Yakumo's clones, defeated Mai. They beat her enough to send her away. They realized that Anko was no longer around and readied themselves. That's when Yakumo's technique was cancelled and she was sent flying out of the tree line. Both teammates rushed to help her when they were suddenly caught by a net. The two struggled to get loose. When the hell did she set this up? Jacken shouted. He tried to cut through the net, but his blade couldn't. Naruto did the same, but his kunai couldn't cut through it either. Yakumo stayed perfectly still as Anko had used a black mamba to tie her up. Anko suddenly appeared and looked at her team. You guys almost had me today. It was as if you really wished to do me harm. Anko joked. Her team glared at her. Still, you didn't cut me, so you know what that means. Anko happily munched on her dango. They were stacked up high on her plate. The owner, a retired ninja and friend of Anko, just shook his head. I can't believe you. How can you do that to your own students? He asked. Hey, they didn't have to agree to my terms. Besides, it builds character. Anko explained. What about the danger you placed them in with Ibiki? I know that he was incredibly displeased with how his office was. He needs to lighten up and take a joke, Anko said as she munched of her treat that her cute little genin paid for. As she ate, she heard a conversation. So you're entering your team into the Chunin exams? Where is it to be held this time? A man asked. It's being held in Takigakure this time, the female jonin said. You think that they are ready for such a challenge? I've heard that IWA will be in this year's exam, the man said. I believe that they are ready. I've been pushing them hard, and in 2 months, they will be hard to beat. Trust me, I believe in my team, the jonin said. Anko tuned out the rest of their conversation and stared off into space. If she had to admit, she believed that her team was close to being Chunin level. It had been 2 months since the C-rank mission that went to hell. After her students gave her a second chance, she poured herself into getting them ready for another C-rank mission. She worked them into the ground to get to that level. She worked them on everything from chakra control to ninjutsu. She didn't do too many of those D-ranks but made up several mock missions, which turned out to be various pranks against Jonin and Chunin. Their teamwork was up to par and they had gotten closer to the level she wanted. However, one thing nagged her. While her team was stronger, she didn't feel that they were there yet. Hell, they haven't even taken their first lives. Anko continued to eat, but the fun of it had long worn off. It would be a week later when Anko finally decided to do something about her dilemma. It even affected her torturing of her brats. She decided that she needed to talk to someone. She immediately crossed off Ibiki, so she decided to go to the Hokage. The secretary, who didn't like her, ushered her in the office. Hiruzen noticed the glare of her secretary and gave Anko an amused look. What did you do to her, Anko? He asked. It isn't my fault her boyfriend was a horn dog. Besides, I was still going through a phase, Anko said with mirth. Anyway, why did you need to see me, Anko? Is something wrong with the team? No, they're fine. They have grown quickly in such a short time. No, I'm here because I have an issue that I was hoping to get some answers for, Anko said. I'm listening, Hiruzen said. As you know, the Chunin exams are coming up. I have confidence that my team is at a level that is considered Chunin level. However, I'm concerned that they do not have the mentally to take the exam. I know that these exams have fatalities and you're wondering if they have it in them to kill, Hiruzen said, cutting her off. Anko nodded at him. I just want your advice on how I should handle this, Anko finished. Hiruzen knew what Anko was talking about. The Chunin exams didn't really begin until after the Third Ninja War. In his time, you got promoted by doing missions and finishing them with great skill. These exams were created as a way to promote wars among the nations, only this was legal. He understood what Anko was going through and he did have an answer for her. He was considering sending a team of Chunin to deal with this, but this would help Anko with her decision. Anko watched as he gave her a scroll marked with a C. Anko looked at it and back at the Hokage. This should help you with your decision, Anko, You start this mission tomorrow, Hiruzen said. Anko bowed and left the office. Team Anko looked over the pit and observed it. The darkness kept them from being seen by the sentries. Anko looked through her telescope and saw where the prisoners were being held. Anko turned to her team. Okay, you know what we have to do. I'll be making my way toward the prisoners. You are to scale down from behind and sweep the area. Keep anyone in those huts from joining up with the majority of the bandits. Knock them out or kill them, but we have to keep them for joining up. Understood? She said. Yes, sensei, they said. Naruto, create 4 clones for each of you, Anko ordered. Naruto did as he told and the group separated. Jacken, Naruto and Yakumo, along with the clones, made their way behind the bandit camp. They all slowly walked down the side of the cliff. They all hit the ground and separated to a different hut. The first hut that was hit was by Naruto. He crept up to the hut and knocked out the 2 standing at the entrance. 2 clones tied them up while Naruto and the other 2 clones surrounded the house. Naruto pushed open the door carefully and he would be forever changed. What he saw was horrible. One of the bandits had a young teenager pinned to the bed. Her clothes were ripped and he was violently violating her. Her screams of pain and cries to stop fell on deaf ears. Naruto was enraged and felt the Kyuubi's chakra. He moved with incredible speed and ripped the guy off the girl. He slammed the grown man into the wall and pulled out a kunai. He repeatedly stabbed the man, he blood spraying the walls. He was about to stab him again until he saw the man's eyes. His eyes were filled with fear. He turned to the girl as she frantically tried to get away from him. He tried to calm her down, but she called him a monster. That froze Naruto to the core. The next hut was hit by Jacken. He and the clones surrounded the hut. Jacken gave the clones the signal and they entered the hut. They quickly dispatched the bandits before they made a sound. One, however, managed to get away and was escaping toward the back. Jacken, who was watching the back, was startled when someone came out. He saw that he was about to yell, so he silenced him. The kama ripped into his flesh right where the heart was. He covered his mouth so he would not make a noise. When he finally stopped moving, Jacken got a good look at the person he killed and was shocked to see that he was his age. Why is there a guy my age here? Did I just kill a kid? He thought. The last hut was Yakumo's. Using her genjutsu skills, the clones and herself managed to sneak up to the hut unseen. They all hit the hut quickly and took out the sleeping bandits. As they lay there, tied up and unconscious, Yakumo looked out of the hut to see a bandit approach. He had a little blood on his arm and was dragging something. That something was a young boy. A rope was around his neck. She shook in rage and unleashed some of the Ito's power. The bandit saw Yakumo at the entrance of the hut and was scared as she was glowing. He wanted to make a break for it when some skeletal arms shot out of the ground and dragged the bandit down into it. The bandit cried out for his comrades, but it suddenly stopped when he appeared out of sight. Yakumo canceled her technique and ran over to the little boy. She threw the rope off his neck and she began to do CPR in order to bring him back to life. This is the scene that Anko walked in on. Anko had taken care of the bandits with ease and released the hostages. She heard a scream and quickly made her way to the huts. She watched as her female student tried to bring the dead boy back to life. She looked for her other 2 students. Jacken came out from behind the second hut. The kama looked bloody and Jacken was in a daze. Naruto exited the first hut and sat down on the steps. A young girl ran out wrapped in a cover. She saw that Naruto was covered in blood. He kept his focus on the ground. Anko sighed and went over to Yakumo. She tried to stop Yakumo, who slapped her hand away. She continued to do CPR, but Anko had enough and pulled her off him. She gave her slap, which caused her look at her. Yakumo and Anko looked at each other before Yakumo started to cry. She embraced Anko and Anko placed her hand on her head to calm her down. She looked at her team and she finally had her answer. She just wondered how she was going to fix this. Anko looked at her team, who were quietly sitting at the campfire. They were a half a day away from Konoha. She did not wish to keep her team at the village that they returned the prisoners to. While she would normally bathe in the praise, she saw how uncomfortable it made her team. Anko almost killed that girl who called Naruto a monster but settled for telling her off instead. Still, this was getting troublesome. She needed to get them out of this funk. Okay guys, start talking, Anko ordered. What are you talking about? Jacken asked. Tell me what's troubling all of you. Come on. Let Auntie Anko calm your souls. She joked. Her team wasn't laughing and remained quiet. Anko sighed and leaned against the tree. I think back to my first kill. It was so long ago. She looked to see that she had their attention a little. It was when I was with the snake bastard of a sensei. He had me assassinate this merchant. The guy wasn't really an enemy to Konoha or anything, but it was something that I was ordered to do. What happened? Asked Naruto. I did the deed. His blood sprayed on me and all over his desk. I froze up and I stared at my hands. I was so out of it that I was nearly caught. I had a fear of blood for a while and I would throw up if I even saw a drop of it. After a while, I just got used to killing and I enjoyed it. That was until the last time I took a life, she said while looked at the fire. The last time you killed? Asked Jacken. It was a mission that included me and some others. I was so caught in my lust for blood that I killed one of comrades. Seeing what I did, I froze again. When we got back, my commanding officer took me aside and talked with me. After that, I found a way to cope. So, what do you do to cope? Yakumo asked. Mostly sex, sometimes interrogations. I do a lot of various things. Enko joked. That got a deadpan look from her team. Now that's my team. I know what you feeling sucks. First kills are never easy and they never ease with time. They will be burned into your memory for the rest of your lives. You just have to find a way to cope with every life you take. If you become an emotionless zombie going through the motions, then you'll crack and spiral out of control. Enko explained. Wow, that was deep, Naruto said as surprise. Who the hell are you, woman? Jacken asked. I'll check for genjutsu, Yakumo added. Ha ha, ha, very funny. Get some sleep, Enko said. They laughed and did as she said. Enko could see that they were in high spirits, but she wondered how long that would last. She decided that she would need to call in some more help. Naruto sat in his apartment, wasting time and eating ramen. His team was off duty for 2 weeks. The old man asked if he wanted to talk to someone about what happened, but he told him he was fine. The truth was, he was still saddened by the comment of the girl. He knew that he wasn't a monster, but her words brought back some painful memories. Memories of being chased and beaten flooded his brain and it gave him some nightmares. He sighed and stopped eating his ramen. Wow, you actually stopped eating ramen. The world must be ending, a voice said. Naruto was startled and looked toward his window. Sitting on the window was Kakashi Hatake. Naruto met the one-eyed shinobi while he was still a student of the Sandaime. He was impressed with his mastery of the Kage Bunshin, shadow clones. Some months later, he appeared before him on his birthday and gave him a book on Bunshinjutsu. It was from that book where he learned the Mizu Bunshin, water clone. Damn it, Kakashi. Stop doing that, Naruto shouted. Kakashi just gave him an eye smile. So, I heard that you got your first kill on your last mission, he said. You're not going to give me a pep talk, are you? Naruto asked. Nah, telling you about my first kill would be a waste of time. I do think that Enko is right about finding a way to cope. Why don't you get a hobby like I do? Kakashi said. I don't think they allow minors to buy porn, Naruto said with a deadpan voice. Well, do what you like to do. Remember the fun you had when you were 5, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Naruto looked confused before getting a thoughtful look on his face. The question was who would be his victim. Naruto suddenly got a wicked grin on his face. The Hyuga clan of Konoha was one of the strongest clans in Konoha. They carried themselves like they ran the place. Today, however, they were about to get humbled. Someone did the unthinkable and pranked the Hyugas. They weren't just pranked. They were completely embarrassed. Someone decided that it would be funny to spread the clan's underwear across the village. Who could have done such a thing to them? They got their answer from the shouts of the Hyuga clan members who were chasing a blonde. Get back here, Uzumaki. You'll pay for this humiliation. You ass is ours when we catch you. Naruto Uzumaki kept running, laughing his ass off. He had to admit that he felt a lot better after pulling this prank. While he wasn't going to take another life anytime soon, he had an outlet that he could do. He turned back to his pursuers and saw Niji among them. Hey Niji, I didn't know you were so into silk undies. That's so feminine, Naruto joked. He picked up the pace as Niji started to speed up. I'll get you for this, Uzumaki, Niji roared. Kakashi turned away from his book to witness the prank. He smiled and knew that Naruto would be fine. Jacken entered the ANBU prison that was hidden from the world. He knew where it was because his officer was the person who showed it to him. He entered the prison with the special badge that was given to him by his handler. He walked up to one of the people there. He got their attention by showing them the same badge. "Can I help you?" the man asked. "Yeah, I'm looking for one of the guards here. His code name is Kuma," Jacken said. "You're Jacken, right?" The teen nodded. "Kuma is waiting for at training ground 13. Jacken thanked the man and made his way to the training ground. It didn't take him long to arrive there, and he saw Kuma throwing kunai at a target. He didn't turn around to face Jacken, who just walked onto the field. "I'm surprised," Kuma spoke. "I figured that you wouldn't seek me out so quickly." "Yeah, well, I guess I needed someone to talk to. I really don't feel like visiting any of those Yamanaka shrinks," Jacken explained. "What makes you think I can help you?" Kuma asked. "I don't know. I guess you can tell me about how you deal with killing. I know that as ninjas we are supposed to kill, but it isn't the same when you take the life of a kid. The fact that you feel remorse for this action proves that you're human." "I don't feel human," Jacken said soberly. "You want to know what I do to cope with the lives I take?" Kuma asked. Jacken didn't say anything and stayed quiet. Kuma pulled out a leather book and threw it toward Jacken. Jacken opened the book and saw that there was nothing in the book. He looked back at Kuma and saw that he had a similar book. "This book carries the lives of every person I've taken away. Some of them have names, others don't, but I place each and every one of those names in this book." "Why would you do that?" Jacken asked. "They deserve to be remembered no matter if they are an enemy. In that book you can unleash your sorrows and your forgiveness and then put it away. You don't open that book unless you kill again. Something that I hope you never have to do again soon," Kuma explained. "So that it? Say what's on my mind and then put it away? That sounds kind of cold," Jacken said. "I never said that it wasn't. Try it and see if you can do it. Who knows, you may get what I'm saying to you." "I'll give it a shot." Jacken turned and walked out of the training grounds. Kuma went back to his training when Jacken appeared again. "Hey Kuma." "I know Jacken, I know," Kuma said. Jacken nodded and left again. Under his mask, the ANBU member smiled. Yakumo was walking through the halls of her house in a trance. Her clansmen attempted to cheer her up, but it was not helping. She did thank them for trying. As she walked down the hall, she caught the sound of a flute. The sound gave off a melancholy sound. Curious and intrigued, Yakumo followed the sound. It took her toward the family garden where her father sat. She was surprised to see that he was playing a bamboo flute so skillfully. She watched for a while and listened to the music that he played. When he was finished, Yakumo made her presence known. "You are certainly getting better, daughter. I really didn't recognize you there," Murakumo said. "You didn't become a shinobi, father," Yakumo stated. "True, but my brother did train me to be aware," he explained. "Father, I did not know you knew how to play the flute. It is a hobby of mine. Plus, your mother's garden loves it when I play my music for them." "Wouldn't they get sad because of how melancholy it sounds?" Yakumo asked. "So you noticed that? You are truly coming along. The reason for my mood and the sound is because I do not know how to make my dearest child feel better. Your uncle Unkai has spoken to you, but it has done little to make you feel better," Murakumo said. "I know where uncle is coming from, but I just can't get that boy out of my mind. I couldn't save him. I wish there was a way to say that I was sorry for failing," she said. Murakumo couldn't stand to see his daughter in such distress. He looked to his flute and to his daughter. "Would you like to learn how to play?" he asked. "Father, I don't think I have time," Yakumo said. "Don't be silly, come here," he ordered. Yakumo reluctantly moved over to him. He carefully showed her how to play. She played a few bad notes which caused her to giggle. Murakumo smiled as he spent such time with her. The two continued for the remainder of the day learning how to play the instrument. 2 weeks had passed and Team Enko was waiting for their sensei. She arrived on time and looked at her genin. She saw that they were in much better spirits than before. She gave them all an amused grin. "So, you guys look like you're back to normal. Did my students get a little lucky during their break?" Enko asked suggestively. "You and Kakashi need to get together at some point. The both of you are nothing but perverts," Naruto said. "Please, that one-eyed joker wouldn't know what to do with a woman like me. So really, how are you guys doing?" Enko asked. "I'm getting over it. I don't think that kill will ever fade, but I found it better to write my apologies and put it behind me," Jacken said. Anko nodded and looked to Yakumo. The life I couldn't save sucks, but I think that I've let it go. I even composed a song for him. My family really liked it, Yakumo said with a smile. What about you, Naruto? Anko asked. I've been coping, and that kill made me realize that I have a long way to go still. It was fun getting back to my mischief ways and forgetting that I'm a ninja for a while, Naruto said. Well then, I'm happy that you have found ways to cope with your kills. How about we go and get us a D-rank mission? Anko said. The team cheered and made their way toward the tower. Anko looked on as her team conversed with one another. She was very lucky to get this team. They will become legends in the making. Midoshi walked into Orochimaru's office. She folded her arms and waited for the snake to speak. Midoshi, I'm glad that you could make it, Orochimaru said. Get to the reason of why I was called on again, she said. My dear, I'm just giving you a chance to stretch your legs for a while, Orochimaru said. Uh-huh. And exactly what are you talking about? In 3.5 months' time, I will be meeting with someone within the Land of Fire. It will be around this time that the Genin squads will be returning for Takigakure. I wish for you to attack the returning teams to give me enough time to meet with my contact, Orochimaru explained. So, you want me to take out a bunch of Genin? What a waste of my time, Midoshi said. Do this for me and I will allow you to enter the next Chunin exam. The one that will be held in Konoha, he added. Midoshi thought about this. She wanted to get into Konoha to locate that girl who was with Anko. She was intrigued by her skills in Genjutsu. She wanted to convince her to teach her how to make those illusions into reality. Fine, I will do this other favor for you, but you better hold up your end of the bargain, Midoshi said. You have my word, Orochimaru said. Midoshi scoffed at that and walked out of the Snake Sannin office. Hiruzen entered the Hokage Tower. He had just gotten back from seeing those teams that were heading to Takigakure for the Chunin exams. He kept a positive outcome to how well they may do. As he walked toward his office, he heard a loud noise coming from that direction. He turned the corner and got a small smirk on his face. His secretary was holding that demon cat, Tora, in her arms. She kept it out of the reach of Team Anko, who was being restrained by several Chunin and ANBU. He also saw that the team was badly scratched. That was the price of retrieving the daimyo wife's cat. He coughed loudly to get everyone's attention. They stopped their actions to see that their leader was in the area. That lasted only a couple of seconds when Team Anko attempted to get the cat again. The Chunin and ANBU refocused their attention to stopping them while the secretary kept Tora away. Hiruzen just sighed. Team Anko stood in front of Hiruzen, badly bruised and angry. Hiruzen just looked at them with amusement. Okay. I believe it would be safer if your team never gets the Capture Tora mission ever again, Hiruzen said. That would be most wise, Hokage-sama, Anko said. Yeah, we're killing it next time, Jacken added. I'm with you, Naruto commented. I don't give a damn if the samurai come after me, Yakumo finished. Hiruzen just smiled at the angry team. Team Anko was one of the best team among the Genin teams. They were a well-oiled machine that got the job done. As he looked over his records, Anko's team did more D and C rank missions than any squad. He was happy that his gamble paid off so well. It was very liberating to rub it in elders' faces. As he continued to look on, he noticed something. There was supposed to be a report from one of his out-in-the-field shinobi. The report was due 3 weeks ago. He frowned and wondered what the hell was taking him so long to report to him. He looked at Team Anko and shrugged. While it might be an impossible task, he felt confident that this team might complete the mission he was planning. Okay, I have a personal favor to ask of you, Hiruzen began. What is it, Hokage-sama? Anko asked. I need you to track and retrieve one of my shinobi. He was to check in 3 weeks ago with a status report, he explained. Do you believe that he's been captured? Asked Naruto. Not this one, he is actually a student of mine. His name is Jiraiya. Lord Jiraiya is missing, exclaimed Anko. It's more like he's goofing off again. Trust me, Jiraiya is an excellent spy but has some very bad and annoying habits. One of these habits must be the reason that he has not reported in. Track him down and bring him back to Konoha. Use whatever means you have to, he said. Yes, sir, they all said and left to get prepared. Hiruzen prayed for their success. The team entered Otafukugai, homely woman town. The town was known for its hotels and gentlemen clubs. It was also the last place that Jiraiya was seen. Why would Lord Jiraiya come to a place like this? Yakumo asked. Got me, but this is where he was last reported. Alright, we'll split up and search the area, Enko ordered. The team nodded and made their way to different corners of the city. It would be several hours of searching, but they yielded no results. The team reunited to get something to eat. As they ate, they vented their frustrations. How can it be this hard to find one guy? Jacken whined. He is one of Konoha's best spies. He wouldn't be much of one if we could find him so easily, Yakumo commented. True, but you would think that someone must have seen him at some point, Naruto said. Complaining isn't going to get us anywhere. Let's just finish up and get ready to resume the search. The team groaned in displeasure and continued to eat. They finished their meals and went to pay for it. When the waiter came, Anko decided to ask him the same question she's asked everyone. Hey, I was wondering if you've seen a man around here. What does he look like? The waiter asked. Average height, average built, long white spiky hair, 2 red streaks coming down his face. Does that ring any bells? She asked. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. He should still be at the Fun Street Kenrakugai Pleasure Quarter. The waiter told them. The team was ecstatic at the news and asked for directions to the place. Anko wanted to stop them but reconsidered it. After all, it would be funny to see their reactions when they realized what this place was. Anko was not disappointed as they entered the Fun Street Narakugai. All 3 of her charges were blushing like mad. She only wished she had a camera with her to remember this moment. It only got funnier when the half-naked girls were all over Naruto. They cooed at him and touched his whisker marks, which made him get redder. Jacken got a few admirers, as did Yakumo. She wasn't mistaken as a boy. The world was just like that. Having enough fun at their expense, Anko asked where she could find Jiraiya. All of them giggled and led them to where Jiraiya was. They were led into a large room where Jiraiya was surrounded by many women of different sizes. The man had a bottle of sake in his hand and had his arm around the waist of one of the women. The team could not believe that this was the student of the Sandaime. The woman who led them made her way toward him. Jiraiya-sama, you have some guest, she said. Jiraiya looked over to them. His eyes quickly focused on Anko. Well, a new girl and she's a kunoichi geisha, he said in a drunken haze. Anko raised an amused eyebrow. Great. This guy's a pervert, Naruto muttered. Hey, I'm not a pervert, you brat. I'm a super pervert, Jiraiya admitted, causing the girls to giggle. The team looked on, shocked that he admitted it. Anko just smirked at the white-haired pervert. Sorry, old man, but you can handle this, Anko said. You never know that, my dear. I'll do things that you've never experienced before, Jiraiya said seductively. Really? I might just take you up on that, Anko flirted. The genin were not amused. Hey, we didn't come here so you could get your rocks off, Jacken shouted. He then turned back to Jiraiya. Look, pervert, you're 3 weeks late with your report to the Hokage, and we're here to escort you back to Konoha. Jacken suddenly realized that he was talking to air. Noticing his team's gaze, he found Jiraiya flirting with Anko again. So, you want to ditch these brats and take me up on that offer? He asked suggestively. As fun as it may be to watch you die happy, I'm afraid my genin is right. We're here to escort you back to Konoha. Maybe if you come quietly, I just may take you up on that offer, Anko said with a grin. Sorry, darling, but I can't return just yet. Just tell the old man that I'll see him in 5 days, Jiraiya said. He suddenly felt something on his groin area. He looked down to see a kunai. Sorry, Lord Jiraiya, but this isn't up for debate. You're coming with us, Anko stated. Jiraiya just smirked before quickly grabbing her wrist. He saw that her team was making a move to stop him and he flipped Anko toward them. Anko twisted in a way that allowed her team to avoid her. Naruto pulled out his staff and started to attack. Jiraiya noticed that the boy was not attempting to hurt him, just disable. He also recognized this style of bujutsu. This is definitely Sensei's style. He broke the boy's pattern and grabbed him by the GI shirt. He threw to his left into the other boy before disarming and restraining the girl. Anko glared at him and made a move to attack, but Jiraiya made a negative signal to her. That wouldn't be wise. Look, just tell the old man that I'll see him in 5 days. My business will be over by then. Sorry, but that's not going to happen. My team has a high mission rate and I won't have it wrecked because you want to chase some tail. Enko said. You're being stubborn, Jiraiya sighed. And you don't know who you have captured, Enko said with a smirk. Confused, he looked at the girl. Recognizing who it was, he was too late as Jiraiya found himself swallowed up by ghostly apparitions. Yakumo appeared next to Enko. Nice work, Yakumo, Enko congratulated. She then turned to the two males of her team. All right, you two, stop feeling up the girls and come on. You make it sound like we aren't trying. Jacken growled and finally escaped the clutches of the three women that had him. He pulled Naruto out of one woman's impressive cleavage and joined up with Enko and Yakumo. The ghost continued to maul Jiraiya, forcing him out of the place. When the team arrived and Yakumo cancelled her genjutsu, Jiraiya was gone. Son of a bitch, he couldn't have gotten far. Naruto, Enko shouted. Got it, Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu. Mass shadow clone technique, Naruto said. The whole town was blanketed by thousands of shadow clones. They took off in different direction in search of the pervert man. Team Enko joined in the search as well. Unknown to them, a woman from the Fun Street Narakugai looked at the three teens. She paid special attention to Jacken's retreating back. If someone was looking at her, they would see the look of shock as well as a single tear run down her cheek. It would be at sunset when the team realized that Jiraiya had escaped. They were tired, hungry, and pissed. Jacken slammed his fist on a random wall. He got away, he stated. I don't know about you, but this will not stand. I will not allow our record suffer because of this bastard. We are going to hunt this man down and drag his old ass before the Hokage, Enko said. But where could he have gone? We search everywhere in this town. He didn't pass any of my clones that we stationed at the exits, Naruto said. He couldn't have gotten far out of the city limits. We could probably pick up his trail if we search, Yakumo suggested. Good plan, let's get to it. We're not sleeping until we find a sign of where that bastard went. Enko turned around to head toward the exit when a flyer hit her in the face. Already annoyed, Enko ripped the flyer off and was about to tear it into pieces when she noticed something. She suddenly got a wicked grin on her face which her team saw. What is it, sensei? Naruto asked. I don't think we need to find a trail. I have a good idea where he's going, Enko said and handed her team the flyer. They looked at it and got the same grin on their faces. They decided to rest for the night and continue out as soon as the sun rises. They had a troublesome pervert to hunt down. You know, Kuni, land of hot water, was a country that was famous for its hot springs. Their most favorite spring was a naturally heated resort that was built on the side of a dormant volcano. Around this time, the resort held a special contest, a bikini contest. Girls from all places came to this event and they were cheered on by many. There were always 3 judges who would later pick a winner. The prize was always different. This year's prize was 5,000 Ryu and a part in the next Ika novel whose author was a judge this year. Team Enko was within the crowd but kept a low profile so that their target would not see them. Yakumo looked at her sensei. Are you sure that we should be doing this to Naruto? Judging by what we know of this man, he could be in some serious trouble, she said. Don't worry about it. Naruto will lead him to the hotel room where we will surprise him. Trust me, we'll have him bound and gagged before he even tries anything, Enko said in reassurance. Why are we letting the pipsqueak handle this? Shouldn't you have done it? You don't mind flaunting it, Jacken said. Hey, I don't flaunt it. Besides, since he's gotten a good look at me, he'll know that it was a trap. Anyway, this will be a lesson in espionage that you guys have to learn anyway, Enko explained. They watched as the announcer led the girl off the stage. All right, everybody. Get ready for a special treat. A late entry has entered the competition and guess what? They're twins, the announcer said, getting a loud cheer from the crowd. Let's hear it for our final contestants, Naruko and Ryoko. 2 girls, no more than 16, walked onto the stage. They were both blonde and had their hair in pigtails. The 2 also had 3 whisker marks on each cheek which made the men go wild. They showed off their bodies which were bouncing around for all to see. Both turned to the judges and focused in on Jiraiya. They winked at him and gave him a little show. When he tried to reach for them, one sister pulled the other away and gave him the no-touchy sign with her finger. They continued to wow the crowd and when their time was up, they left the stage. Team Enko was impressed. Wow, he did better than I thought. Anko said in shock. I still hate that jutsu, but it does have some uses. I'll admit that I'm impressed as well. Yakumo then turned to a blushing Jacken. What's the matter with you? She asked in concern. Nothing. Just leave me alone for a while, he exclaimed. Ah. Did you get a boner from watching you teammate? Anko teased. Jacken let out a string of curses as both females laughed at him. After the contest, Jiraiya was taking pictures with the winner of the contest. When it was over, he was about to ask her something when he felt a pair of soft tissue on both arms. He grinned as he noticed the twins. They were both still in their bikinis. They also had some pouts on their face. Jiraiya-sama, how could you? Naruto asked with a pout. After the show we put on for you? Ryoko added. I am sorry ladies, but you both were a close second, Jiraiya told. No fair, Naruto whined. We want a model for you. Please let us model for you, Ryoko asked cutely. Model, Naruto added. Well, I don't see why not. Do you have a place in mind? He asked. Let's go upstairs to our room. We'll model for you, Ryoko said. Even in the nude, Naruto added. Jiraiya was sold and rushed both girls to their room. They all entered and both girls placed Jiraiya in a chair. Are you ready, Jiraiya-sama? Oh yeah, he said eagerly. Close your eyes, Ryoko said. The pervert did just that. He heard the faint sounds of clothes being removed and was giddy with excitement. Okay, you can open them now. He did just that and found himself wrapped up by a huge boa constrictor. The snake hissed at him. He was confused and afraid when the twins suddenly turned into brats. One brat disappeared in a puff of smoke while the other one had this smug little smirk on his face. What the hell? Jiraiya exclaimed. Sorry big boy, there will be no fun tonight, a familiar voice said. Jiraiya saw that it was Anko and her team. Okay my pet, swallow him up, she ordered the boa to do. Jiraiya squealed as the snake gobbled him up. When he was completely swallowed, Anko sent the snake back home. We got about 2 days before the juices of the snake dissolve him, so we'll be moving at ninja speed. Hi sensei, they all said. As they left the hotel, Naruto was starting to get disturbed at the fact that Jacken kept looking at him and blushing. What the hell is wrong with you? He asked. Nothing damn it, just leave me alone, Jacken exclaimed and walked past his team in order to get away from them. Naruto was greatly confused at his attitude and as to why his sensei and best friend were on the ground holding their sides.